Chapter 124. Yes, you are my friend. Qin nodded vigorously. Seeing that the two were having a good chat, Huan Nan left. He also hoped that Night Sorrow would have more friends. The people of the North Pole Peak were all upright and did not engage in any underhanded practices, so he was more at ease. Qin was not used to communicating, so Night Sorrow did not speak much to him. He took out a jar of wine and 2 wine bowls and began drinking. After finishing the jar of wine, Qin extended his hand to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow also extended his hand and shook Qin's hand. After nodding at Night Sorrow, Qin turned and left. Yishang sat on the bluestone. He opened another jug of wine and drank slowly. Actually, Yishang had already regarded Qin as a friend a long time ago. On the way from Red Fire City to Danding City, Qin Shang had stood by his side when he clashed with Qin Hai. At that time, Yishang had acknowledged Qin as a person, but there were some things that he hadn't said. What's wrong? Are you unhappy that your friend is here? Huan Nan walked over and poured himself a bowl of wine. No, I'm just wondering why the people from the same family are so different. He did not say anything, but he was insistent. His 2 brothers are different, Night Sorrow said. Of course, people are different. Isn't there an old saying that the dragon has 9 sons, and each of them is different? Huan Nan said with a smile. I understand, 3rd senior brother. You will definitely be able to enter the heaven list this time. Night Sorrow looked at Huan Nan and said. Not necessarily. I have been cultivating for decades. I admit that I am very hardworking, but my talent is not good enough. Therefore, there is a gap between me and your other senior brothers and sisters. Huan Nan shook his head. But big senior brother said that your foundation is the most solid. Night Sorrow said. A long time ago, when Gong Xian had asked Night Sorrow to cultivate steadily, he had used Huan Nan as an example. Night Sorrow also knew that among Yu Yangyu's disciples, other than the most talented Yang Lei and Gong Xian, the strongest was Huan Nan. This was because Huan Nan could endure hardships and had the most perseverance. Maybe. That friend of yours is pretty good. His future achievements won't be low. He's very talented, but I don't know why he's only at the 9th level of qi refining. Huan Nan said, somewhat puzzled. Just like me, he started cultivating not too long ago. Back then, there was a problem with his body, so he couldn't cultivate. He started cultivating this year, Night Sorrow said. No wonder. His cultivation speed is amazing. Huan Nan understood the key point. After chatting with Night Sorrow for a while, Huan Nan left. Night Sorrow finished the entire jar of wine before returning to his residence. After returning to his residence, Night Sorrow cultivated the Windborn Body technique for a while. Then, he went to his room to meditate. After Night Sorrow finished cultivating, Aoi brought him 2 sets of robes. You can wear whatever you want, but the sect competition is the day after tomorrow. You have to wear something more formal. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, I understand. Night Sorrow nodded. Although he liked to wear casual linen robes, he had to wear the Medicine Valley's disciple robe on formal occasions. After cultivating for another 2 days, Night Sorrow woke up early because today was the day of the Medicine Valley's Disciples sect competition. After putting on the white Medicine Valley's disciple robe, Night Sorrow went to Aoi's loft to wait for her. What's the hurry? It's still early. Have some breakfast first. Aoi patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said. I'm a little nervous. Night Sorrow told her the truth. It's okay. No one is your match in the competition among the newcomers. That beast doll won't be able to do anything. Aoi put her arm around Night Sorrow's shoulder and walked towards the dining room. I'm not afraid of losing. I'm just a little nervous. I think I should say excited, Night Sorrow said. It's okay. Senior sister is here. Night Sorrow, you've grown a lot taller. You're almost the same height as senior sister, Aoi said as she put her arm around Night Sorrow's shoulder. Aoi and Yang Lei were both tall and not much shorter than ordinary men. Night Sorrow was still short when he came to the Medicine Valley. After cultivating for half a year, especially after cultivating the myriad Tao Tome and strengthening his body, he had grown 4 to 5 inches. I'm already 16 years old. If I don't grow taller, I'll be too short. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Weren't you 14 years old when you came to the Medicine Valley? Aoi asked in surprise. But I was 15 then. I'll be 16 soon. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Yeah. It's been almost a year. 13, you've grown up too. Aoi was a little emotional. Although she didn't go to the Medicine Valley's disciple recruitment ceremony, she knew about Night Sorrow's situation at the ceremony. After eating, the two came to the Taishian Hall. There were already many people in front of the hall. Yu Yangyu had 12 second-generation disciples and 12 third-generation disciples. However, there were also many second-generation disciples from the other elders. Some of them went to watch the ceremony while others went to participate in the competition. After a while, Yu Yangyu came out of the hall and said, "It's still the same as last year. We, Taishian Peak, are not afraid of losing. We just have to fight with style." Yishang sat on Qing Ji's green condor and rushed towards the square of the mountain gate of the Medicine Valley. Lu Yangyu didn't ride a flying demonic beast, but with a sway of his body, he could cover a great distance, much faster than a flying demonic beast. 13. Did you know that for many years, Master hasn't participated in this kind of competition? He also hasn't participated in the disciple recruitment ceremony. This time, he's paying extra attention. It's mainly because of you, Qing Ji said to Yishang. I won't let Master down. Night Sorrow nodded. Soon, they arrived at the gate square. After arriving, Aoi, Yang Lei, and the others took Night Sorrow to the Taishian Peak seats. When they arrived, Yu Yangyu was already sitting in the armchair in front of the Taishian Peak seats. There were some differences between the sect competition and the sect disciple recruitment ceremony. The sect disciple recruitment ceremony was open to the public. It didn't have much to do with the peaks. There were only a few seats for representatives. The sect competition was different. Each peak had their own area and the audience was in another area. Fortunately, the Medicine Valley's gate square was big enough to accommodate tens of thousands of people. In the past, the armchair in front of the Taishian Peak was empty because Yu Yangyu didn't come. This time, when Yu Yangyu appeared, the other peak masters nodded and greeted him. However, there was also a cold snort. Night Sorrow looked in the direction of the voice and saw an old man in a black robe. Old Ghost, you're here this year too? The black-robed old man said. If Nine Peak Su Chenbai can come, why can't I, Yu Yangyu, come? Yu Yangyu replied indifferently. I heard that you accepted a disciple. Old Ghost, I wonder how your disciple compares to my disciple? Su Chenbai turned his head and looked at a young man behind him. Night Sorrow also looked over. He knew that this young man was his opponent, Su Mu. So what if you want to play tricks? My Taishian Peak will accept whatever you want, Yu Yangyu said bluntly. Chapter 125. Head, hair. What's the point of talking so much? If talking is useful, then there is no need for us to cultivate primary energy or combat skills. We can just fight with our mouths, Yu Yangyu said disdainfully. As if you are invincible. Su Chenbai snorted coldly. Then you're invincible. Come, let's liven up the atmosphere of this sect grand competition on this arena. Yu Yongyu stood up and looked at Su Chenbai. Yu Yongyu had kept a low profile for decades. He did not compete with anyone, nor did he fight with anyone. This time, he was not going to tolerate it anymore. He understood that if Su Chenbai took over, then the Taishan Peak would not have an easy time. He knew Su Chenbai too well. Although Su Chenbai couldn't do anything to Yu Yongyu, he could still attack Taishan Peak. This was the power of the sect and the authority of the Valley Master. Just as Su Chenbai's expression was gloomy and he was deciding whether to fight or not, a hemp-robed elder and a few other elders appeared. The appearance of the old man in sackcloth made all the members of Medicine Valley stand up. All right, today is a competition between the younger generation. Don't take up any more time. The hemp-robed old man went straight to the front of Danding Peak and sat down. Because there was an empty chair there, the other old men sat on his left and right sides. As the old man waved his hand, the members of the Medicine Valley all sat down. Of course, those who could sit down were the second-generation disciples of the various peaks. Glancing at Su Chenbai, Yu Yongyu sat down. 13. Did you know that in the past, only 2 or 3 elders would show up? This time, even the Grand Elder is here. Aoi whispered to Night Sorrow. North Pole, you're the host this year, right? It's about time to start. As Qing Ji and Yi Shang were whispering to each other, the first elder made the arrangements. Let's go, the first elder said to the North Pole Peak Lord Yen Bei. Okay. Yen Beifong stood up and came over. This time, it was the North Pole Peak's turn to host the Great Sect competition, and his assistant was Chu Ling Shao. Chu Ling Shao was the eldest disciple of Danding Peak, the main peak of the Medicine Valley. He was also the disciple of the Valley Master. Other than his low qualifications, his ability in other aspects was obvious to all. However, these 2 aspects blocked his path to promotion. Many disciples of the Medicine Valley knew that it was only a matter of time before Chu Lingshao rose to the top of the Medicine Valley because he had the ability. With Yen Beiji's nod, Chu Lingshao went on stage to announce the rules and rewards of the rookie battle. There were more than 200 people participating in this year's rookie competition. Originally, there were only about 20 rookies, but there were more outer sect disciples. The rules of the arena were that no poison was allowed, no hidden weapons were allowed, and no attacks were allowed when the opponent admitted defeat. No killing was allowed. The rules of the competition were that the top 10 would be decided by drawing lots. Then, it would be a round-robin battle. It would be a round-robin battle based on points. Night Sorrow took out 2 heaven-piercing thatches and pinned them to his waist before going to draw lots. This was what Aoi had told him. If he took them out and put them on the stage, they wouldn't be considered hidden weapons. After getting his number, Night Sorrow returned to his original seat. Aoi took a look at Night Sorrow's number and her face was full of excitement. What number? Shi Tianlin asked. He didn't ask his own disciple, but looked at Night Sorrow. He knew that his disciple Su Feng and the others wouldn't be able to defeat Su Mu. Su Mu's cultivation level had reached the 8th level of element gathering tier. This was unique in the rookie competition. The others didn't even have someone in the 5th level of element gathering tier. 13. Aoi said. I'm asking what number 13 is. Shi Tianlin asked again. He was very concerned about this number because those who started the battle were more outstanding. If they met an opponent of equal strength, they would have time to rest and recover after the battle. Didn't I tell you? 13, wasn't I clear enough? Aoi grabbed Night Sorrow's number and showed it to Shi Tianlin. The number on the number plate was surprisingly 13. This? That works too. Shi Tianlin was stunned. After drawing lots, Chu Lingshao announced the start of the competition. First was the battle between number 1 and number 2. This was a battle between 2 outer sect disciples. Their cultivation levels were both in the 9th level of Chi refining tier, and they competed in battle experience. The Outer Sect disciple from the North Pole Peak won. Apart from Night Sorrow and the other 26 people who participated in the competition, everyone else was an Outer Sect disciple. The highest cultivation level an Outer Sect disciple could reach was the peak of Chi refining tier. However, there was a time difference in between. Even if an Outer Sect disciple reached the element gathering tier, they would still have to wait until the annual disciple recruitment ceremony to become an Inner Sect disciple. Thus, many Outer Sect disciples with element gathering tier cultivation appeared in the rookie competition. One battle followed another. On the 6th battle, Sumu stepped onto the stage. He was number 11. Looking at the Cloud Sea Peak disciple who stepped onto the stage, Sumu bared his teeth and let out a wolf-like howl. While the Cloud Sea Peak disciple on the other side was astonished, Sumu moved. Like a ferocious beast, he punched the Cloud Sea Peak disciple off the stage. Looking at the Cloud Sea Peak disciple whose chest had caved in, Night Sorrow understood that this injury was serious. His chest bones were broken, and his internal organs were also heavily injured. Su Chenbai, take care of your disciple, the Peak Master of Cloud Sea Peak, Duan Lei, stood up and roared. His skills are inferior. What's there to say? Su Chenbai said indifferently. Using such a heavy hand in a competition between disciples of the same sect. Duan Lei's face was filled with anger. Sumu could easily defeat this Cloud Sea Peak disciple who was only in the 1st level of element gathering tier, yet he still used such a heavy hand. It's a competition on the stage. There are winners and losers. Peak Master Duan, there's no need to be so angry, Jin Kan, who was Su Chenbai's friend, said. Sumu only used one move, and he didn't attack when his opponent was defeated or admitted defeat. This is completely in accordance with the rules, right? Su Chenbai said again. Seeing that the Great Elder in linen clothes didn't say anything, Yen Beiji signaled that the next round could begin. When number 13 was called, Night Sorrow walked to the front of the stage and handed his card to Chu Lingxiao. The other Blue Rock Peak Outer disciple also handed his card to Chu Lingxiao. Chu Lingxiao placed their cards on the table in front of him. On one side of the table was a bucket filled with cards. The winner's card would be written with their name and thrown into the bucket. The next round would be drawing lots. If 2 people were drawn, they would fight against each other randomly. Taishian Peak, Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow waved the reincarnation spear in his hand and announced his name. Blue Rock Peak, Chen He. The Blue Rock Peak Outer disciple said. He was in the 2nd level of element gathering tier. He didn't break through to element gathering tier recently. He entered element gathering tier not long after Night Sorrow and the others entered Medicine Valley. Let the competition begin, Chu Lingxiao said. Hearing Chu Lingxiao's words, Chen He waved his battle saber and slashed at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't move. He raised his right arm, and the reincarnation spear pierced directly at Chen He's chest. Chen He exerted force with his right arm and slashed at the reincarnation spear. Ding! Chapter 126. Chen He's expression changed. He had never imagined that his full-powered attack would not be able to move Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear at all. I lost. Chen He took a few steps back and said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow waved his right hand and put away his reincarnation spear. He then bowed slightly to Chu Lingxiao. Night Sorrow wins this match. Chu Lingxiao wrote Night Sorrow's name on the number 13 and put it into the bucket. At this moment, there were 7 tokens in the bucket. Night Sorrow walked down the arena. When he passed by the main peak seating area, Night Sorrow bowed to the Great Elder, who was wearing hemp clothes. The Great Elder smiled and nodded. When he reached the Taishan Peak, Night Sorrow bowed to Yu Yang Yu again before returning to his seat. Just as he sat down, Night Sorrow felt someone looking at him. Following his intuition, Night Sorrow turned to look. He saw Sumu. When Sumu noticed Night Sorrow looking at him, he bared his teeth and made a throat-slitting gesture at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow only smiled casually. He knew that there was no point in trying to show off. This bastard. Aoi followed Night Sorrow's gaze and saw Sumu's gesture. Sixth senior sister, can I apply for a death match in the arena? Night Sorrow asked. Sumu's constant provocation made Night Sorrow want to kill him. You can apply, but it's hard to say if it will be approved, Aoi said. 13. Don't let others affect your mood. Gong Xian turned his head and reminded Night Sorrow. Su Feng, you're number 78. Ma Shizhuang exclaimed. Yes, number 78. Why? Shi Tianlin's disciple, Su Feng, said. I'm number 77. Ma Shizhuang said as he flipped open his token. What is this? Su Feng's face turned blue when he saw Ma Shizhuang's sign. Among the third-generation disciples under Yu Yangyu at Taishan Peak, Ma Shizhuang was the strongest, followed by Chu Ning and Tang Tian. If Su Feng were to meet Ma Shizhuang, he would have to go home after this competition. It's nothing. This is just a competition. Don't take it too seriously. Shi Tianlin glanced at Su Feng and said. The battle continued. From time to time, the disciples of Taishan Peak would go up, and they would always emerge victorious. The first defeat was Qiu Jing, the disciple of Night Sorrow's fifth senior brother, Lu Peng. He lost to Qian Yin from the main peak. Qian Yin was Chu Ling Zhao's disciple and was one of the 26 people selected for this year's apprenticeship ceremony. The two were originally evenly matched, but in the end, because Qian Yin was a bit faster, Qiu Jing was defeated. Don't mind him. He has a special bloodline. Gong Xian comforted Qiu Jing. Yes, I didn't expect to miss out on such a good seedling. Yu Yangyu nodded. At the last moment, Qian Yin's speed had increased, and his face had turned pale. This was a sign that he had used the power of his bloodline. Su Feng against Ma Shizhuang. He didn't give up like everyone expected. Instead, he fought seriously. This wasn't something that would happen to disciples from other peaks. Master, aren't they just letting outsiders benefit by fighting like this? Nangong Dai asked her master, Huan Nan. Yes, but Su Feng's performance was very good. Fighting like this is a form of respect for Ma Shizhuang, and also a form of respect for himself, Huan Nan said. We Taishan Peak disciples must be unyielding. We can't lose our fighting spirit at any time. You must remember this. Gong Xian said to the Taishan Peak disciples. Nangong Dai and the others bowed. She now understood that her thinking was wrong. Su Feng could choose not to fight, but that would be an insult to Ma Shizhuang. It would also be a waste of his year of hard work. When you meet Sumu later, just admit defeat, Gong Xian added. Nangong Dai, Ma Shizhuang, and the others were stunned by Gong Xian's words. This was because Gong Xian's words were contradictory. This is an order from your elders. It's different from your own attitude. Just listen to your elders' orders, Huan Nan said. You don't understand, right? Because your 13th uncle is here, you don't need to fight to the death. Taishan Peak's reputation won't be lost. Also, you're fighting that idiot now. It's not unyielding, it's reckless, Yang Lei said. Sumu had been provoking them. In Yang Lei's eyes, he had dropped from a beast child to an idiot. I really want to kill him, Ma Shizhuang said through gritted teeth. You're not the only one who wants to kill him. Your 13th uncle wants to as well. Aoi lifted her chin in Night Sorrow's direction. 13th uncle, are you afraid he'll hurt them? Yang Lei said, pointing at Chu Ning and the others. On one hand, I think he's a scourge, Night Sorrow said. Master, what's that guy's cultivation level? Nangong Dai asked. 8th level of element gathering tier, Huan Nan glanced at Su Mu and said. Don't worry. 13th uncle can take care of him, Nangong Dai said, waving her arms. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Tang Tian, Chu Ning, and the others also waved their arms, expressing their opinions. You have so much confidence in your 13th uncle? Gong Xian asked with a smile. And, we all have confidence in 13th uncle. Nangong Dai nodded seriously. The smile on her face had disappeared. You don't understand. This guy has lived with demonic beasts since he was young. Not only is he violent, but he's also very talented. He's said to have copper skin and iron bones, and has extraordinary strength. Plus, his cultivation level is much higher than yours. He's very difficult to deal with, Wu Qi said. He was still worried about Night Sorrow. Don't worry, second senior brother. I can do it, Night Sorrow said, expressing his opinion. While they were chatting, Su Feng lost. After all, in terms of cultivation level, he was much lower than Ma Shizhuang. Ma Shizhuang was already close to the peak of the 2nd level of element gathering tier. Battle after battle continued. Night Sorrow watched at first, intending to see the strengths of others. However, he soon gave up. Very few people used battle techniques, and there weren't many battle techniques. They all relied on their cultivation level and instincts to fight. 2 hours passed, and the first round ended. Half of the people were eliminated. Qiu Jing and Su Feng from Taixian Peak were eliminated. Next came the 2nd round. Chu Lingxiao shook the lot bucket a few times, then put it aside. He then called for an elite disciple from the main peak to draw lots. This was to prevent any suspicion of cheating. The disciples from Taixian Peak went up one by one. The ones they met were all outer sect disciples from other peaks. These outer sect disciples' cultivation levels had kept up, but their weakness was that they weren't talented enough. They didn't have a master or anyone to guide them. Their strength was that their cultivation levels were more solid. These outer sect disciples couldn't be compared to the 3rd generation disciples from Taixian Peak. The 3rd generation disciples from Taixian Peak all successfully advanced. Night Sorrow sat steadily. Su Mu didn't go up on stage either. He was looking forward to fighting Su Mu. Then, the disciples from Taixian Peak would have one less huge threat. After Ma Shizhuang was called up to the stage, Chu Lingxiao called out another name, Taixian Peak's Nangong Dai. Chapter 127. After hearing Su Feng's words, Gong Xian and the others laughed. Gong Xian and the others didn't care about this kind of battle. They only cared about the Taixian Peak getting first place. After Nangong Dai got on the stage, she took out her long sword and nodded at Ma Yizhuang. Senior sister, I'm sorry. Ma Yizhuang slightly bowed. Come, let's treat this as a spar to determine the victor. Nangong Dai smiled and made her move. On the stage, the two moved around and started to attack each other. Nangong Dai's advantage was her speed, while Ma Yizhuang's cultivation was deep. His attacks were heavy and powerful, relying on strength to break through technique. After fighting for a while, Ma Yizhuang found an opportunity and used his battle blade to knock Nangong Dai's longsword aside. The blade stopped in front of Nangong Dai and then retreated. Yes, this Taixian Peak's youngsters are all very outstanding. Second Elder Qian Wu, who was sitting beside the hemp-clothed old man, said. Indeed, a group of outstanding seedlings. The Great Elder nodded. After Ma Yizhuang and Nangong Dai got off the stage, Chu Lingxiao called for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow carried the reincarnation spear and walked onto the stage. He cupped his hands towards Chu Lingxiao and then stood at the side of the stage, waiting for his opponent. What disappointed Knight Sorrow was that his opponent wasn't Sumu, but a disciple of the Tianhua Peak called Kong Jun. Knight Sorrow had seen him before. Back when Ao Lai was looking for trouble with him, Kong Jun and Qin Hai were by his side. His impression of the disciples of the Tianhua Peak was very bad. When Chu Lingxiao called for the battle to begin, Knight Sorrow's feet shook and his body soared into the air. The reincarnation spear smashed down towards Kong Jun's head. Kong Jun exerted strength in his feet and retreated. He planned to wait for Knight Sorrow's attack to miss and attack when his strength was exhausted. As Kong Jun retreated, Knight Sorrow exerted strength in his waist and his legs fiercely swung backwards. His body pounced forward and closed the distance between him and Kong Jun. His spear still smashed towards Kong Jun's head. Seeing this scene, Kong Jun's expression changed and he quickly blocked with his long sword. Crack! With a crisp sound, the web between Kong Jun's thumb and index finger on his right hand was ruptured, and the long sword in his hand was broken. His body went limp and he half knelt on the ground. Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear stopped half an inch above his head. Seeing this scene, many people heaved a sigh of relief. Everyone was worried that Knight Sorrow wouldn't be able to hold back and would smash Kong Jun's head open. You lost? Knight Sorrow asked. Kong Jun's left hand held the split webbing between his thumb and forefinger on his right hand, and he nodded with an ugly expression on his face. He was already in the peak period of the third level of element gathering tier. He had originally thought that he would be able to stand out in the sect competition, and that Luo Daoyuan would accept him as a disciple. However, he had not even been able to withstand a single blow from Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow wins on the 13th. Chu Lingxiao threw Knight Sorrow's number into another bucket. That was the number that qualified him to continue fighting. Carrying the reincarnation spear, Knight Sorrow returned to his seat. 13th uncle is so domineering. Su Feng gave Knight Sorrow a thumbs up. Kong Jun was already very strong. It could even be said that Nangong Dai, Su Feng, and the others were no match for him. However, against Knight Sorrow, he only needed a single blow. I was really afraid that you would kill him with that spear. Mo Chen said. He knew that Kong Jun had been an accomplice to the evildoer and had followed Ao Lai to find trouble with Knight Sorrow. He was worried that Knight Sorrow would take revenge on him. It's not that bad. There's no deep hatred between us. Knight Sorrow shook his head. After a while, Sumu went up on stage. He once again used a heavy blow and injured a disciple of Danning Peak. In this year's newcomer competition, the outcome had already been decided. The first place would either be Knight Sorrow or Sumu. However, the two of them had completely different styles. Knight Sorrow was firm and domineering, while Sumu was cold and vicious. Chu Lingxiao's expression turned ugly. Everyone understood the situation. Su Chenbai, you could fight for your reputation, but you couldn't send a lunatic to injure others. Su Mu, know your limits. You have to respect your opponent. Yen Beiji said. My opponent is in the top 10 of the Yuan roll. Su Mu snorted. This caused the disciple of Danning Peak who was injured by Su Mu to spit out blood. This was an insult, this was looking down on him. Su Mu meant that he wasn't even a match for him. WW first. Humph. Yen Beiji snorted. The battles continued. With every round, the number of people was reduced by half. The disciples of Taishian Peak did not meet Su Mu. Their opponents were all outer sect disciples. The unlucky Jiang Mingshi, Shi Chong, Qi Yun, and Shen Rong were eliminated. Jiang Ziming and Shi Chong met their own people from Taishian Peak. One met Chu Ning, while the other met Tang Tian. They could only spar and lose. Shen Rong was defeated by Qin Hai. Qin Hai was now at the peak of third level of element gathering tier. Needless to say, he had taken the origin strengthening pill. Qi Yun and Qi Shi lost to Tan Dong, a disciple of Yun Hai Peak. Tan Dong was in the same batch as them. At noon, the names of the top 10 were out. Taishan Peak had 6 people: Night Sorrow, Chu Ning, Tang Tian, Ma Zhuang, Ning Qing, and Qing Jiang. Nangong Dai, Su Feng, Jiang Ziming, and Shi Chong were defeated by their own people. Qiu Jing lost to Qian Yin of Danding Peak, Shen Rong lost to Qin Hai, and Qi Yun lost to Tan Dong. This was the current situation of Taishan Peak. During this year's disciple recruitment ceremony, Yu Yangyu brought back 13 people. Excluding Night Sorrow, there were still 12 people left. Mo Chen did not accept any disciples. Back then, Gong Xian received the order to arrange one disciple for each of his juniors besides Night Sorrow, Chu Ning, and Tang Tian. However, the extra one was given to the second disciple, Wu Qi. Under Yu Yangyu's disciples at Taishan Peak, only Gong Xian and Wu Qi were dual disciples. Next, it was time to draw lots. The remaining 10 people each had 1 point. 1 point would be added for every win, and none for every loss. Whoever had the highest number of points would be the champion. The first match was between Night Sorrow and Tan Dong. Tan Dong bowed to Yi Shang and directly admitted defeat. After watching a few of Yi Shang's battles, Tan Dong knew that he wasn't Yi Shang's match, so he simply admitted defeat to preserve his strength. The second match was between Qing Jiang and Su Mu. Qing Jiang also admitted defeat. "Coward, Yu Yangyu, are these your disciples from Taishan Peak?" Su Chenbai asked. "Enough. Medicine Valley's 12 peaks are bound together for good or ill. Why are you belittling the other peaks?" Before Yu Yangyu could speak, the second elder, Qian Wu, spoke up. His face was full of unhappiness. He clearly did not agree with Su Chenbai's actions. Su Chenbai was stunned and did not speak. He did not expect Qian Wu to speak at this time. Most of the following battles forfeited. Knowing that there was no chance of winning, there was no point in fighting to the death. In the middle, Tang Tian and Chu Ning fought once. Their cultivation and power were about the same. In fact, it was just a spar. In the end, Chu Ning won by using his family's battle technique. "Old Nine, you're too shameless." Before leaving the stage, Tang Tian still looked at Chu Ning with disdain. After 5 battles in the first round, there was a break. Next was the second round. When the lots were drawn, those who met each other would be redrawn. There would not be a second battle. In the second round, Qin Hai was the first to go on stage. Then, Chu Ling Shao called out Night Sorrow's name. Seeing that it was Night Sorrow, Qin Hai's expression changed. Chapter 128. After listening to Night Sorrow's words, Yang Lei laughed. With that kind of trash, he dares to bully 13th uncle. What a joke. He kicked 13th uncle in the past and almost caused 13th uncle to fail in the disciple recruitment ceremony. Now that retribution is here, he will die a horrible death. Although they were both from Red Flame City, Tang Tian did not like Qin Hai and Qin Shan. Qin Hai's facial expression was very interesting. His muscles twitched. No one knew if he was going to fight or admit defeat. After thinking for a while, Qin Hai spun the long sword in his right hand and held it in a reverse grip. Then, he bowed towards Night Sorrow. Just when everyone thought that Qin Hai was admitting defeat, Qin Hai's left hand slapped the hilt of the sword in his right hand. The long sword in his right hand flashed a ray of light and shot towards Night Sorrow. "You're courting death." Yang Lei stood up and roared. Aoi also stood up. She was also very excited, but she still held on to Yang Lei. Night Sorrow took a step sideways and dodged Qin Hai's long sword. At this time, Qin Hai rushed forward and entered the range of the reincarnation spear. His left arm blocked the attack path of the reincarnation spear and his right fist smashed towards Night Sorrow's chest. Night Sorrow did not move from his original position. He raised his left hand and slapped towards Qin Hai's right fist. The moment he slapped, a faint red energy circle appeared on Night Sorrow's palm. Bang! A muffled sound rang out, followed by blood and flesh flying. Qin Hai's right arm was directly shattered by Night Sorrow's palm. After shattering Qin Hai's arm, Night Sorrow did not continue to attack. Instead, he looked at Qin Hai coldly. Too vicious. Is there a need to be so heavy-handed in a competition between fellow disciples? When Qin Hai's right arm was shattered and he staggered backwards, Jin Kan stood up and roared loudly. Brother! Brother! Is there a need to launch a sneak attack in a competition between fellow disciples? Can you be a little more shameless? Cloud Sea Peak's Peak Master Duanlei said. Martial Uncle. Chu Ling Xiao looked at Yen Bei Bei. He really couldn't stop Jin Kan and Duanlei from fighting. Qin Hai launched a sneak attack first. Night Sorrow defended himself after that. He did not violate any rules. Night Sorrow wins. Go and rest. Yen Bei Bei ignored Jin Kan and Duanlei and ended the dispute. Night Sorrow withdrew his reincarnation spear and left the stage. He let out a sigh of relief in his heart. Why did he let out a sigh of relief? He was really worried that Qin Hai would admit defeat. If that happened, it would be very difficult for him to vent his anger. After returning to his seat, Night Sorrow sat down. 13. How domineering. Quickly recover and wait for the next battle, Yang Lei said as she patted Yi Shan's shoulder. Night Sorrow nodded and began to close his eyes to replenish the energy he had expended. In fact, he hadn't expended much energy. Qin Hai was too weak, so he couldn't disperse the energy vortex on his left hand. Behind Jin Kan, Luo Daoyuan, Qin Zhan, and the others had ugly expressions. Luo Daoyuan had already promised to help Qin Hai enter the sect after the disciple recruitment ceremony. However, Qin Hai had lost an arm. How could he enter the sect? Qin Zhan's expression changed because Qin Hai was his younger brother. Qin Hai had been crippled by Night Sorrow, so he was naturally angry. On the North Pole Peak, Qin Zhan looked at Qin Hai with a strange expression. There was pity and disdain in his eyes. In the following battles, if they didn't admit defeat, they would spar on the stage. After this round, Yen Beiji announced a 30-minute break. After the 30-minute break, Yen Beiji called for Su Mu. At this moment, Su Mu and Night Sorrow had won twice. Chu Ling Xiao picked Chu Ning from the lot that didn't battle with him. Chu Ning smiled and went up the stage. He looked at Chu Ling Xiao and said, Martial Uncle, let me stretch my muscles before we begin. After speaking, Chu Ning stretched his neck and occasionally kicked his legs and shook his arms. He also glanced at Night Sorrow from time to time. Su Mu stuck out his tongue and licked the corner of his mouth. No matter what you do, the result won't change. Chu Ning, if you don't prepare yourself, then I'll take it as you forfeit. Chu Ling Zhao's face was a bit red. Chu Ning was too embarrassing. The Chu family had never produced such a person. Okay, I'm ready. I've thought about it and decided to forfeit. When Su Mu was about to make a move, Chu Ning forfeited. After forfeiting, Chu Ning didn't immediately leave the stage. He stretched out his hand and flicked the non-existent dust off his robe. He even tidied up his hair that wasn't messy at all. Only then did he slowly walk down the stage. 11th Martial Uncle, do you think I'm elegant enough? Chu Ning said when he arrived beside Imo Chin. Very good. In our Taishan Peak, other than me, you're the only one. Imo Chin said with a smile. His words made everyone blush. Chu Ning was embarrassing enough, but Imo Chin, who had always kept a low profile, said such words. He was too shameless. Because the two of them were talking, they didn't lower their voices, so everyone heard it. Cough cough. Chu Ning, quickly sit back down. Gong Xian couldn't bear it anymore. This Chu Ning was completely different from the Taishan Peak. However, he also knew that Chu Ning was trying to buy time for Night Sorrow to recover. Everyone knew the might of the heaven-covering hand, but they also knew its drawbacks. It was a huge consumption of qi. Striking out with a palm would consume most of one's qi. This was common knowledge. Therefore, Chu Ning didn't know that Night Sorrow didn't consume much qi. When Chu Ning returned, Night Sorrow also opened his eyes. Thank you. Actually, I didn't consume much qi. Chu Ning nodded towards Night Sorrow. 13th uncle, you're too polite. I was just playing. I was very happy playing with him. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yu Yangyu, who was drinking tea, trembled. He was even a bit worried that the Taishan Peak's reputation would be ruined by Chu Ning. Chu Ning came down, and Ma Shizhuang went up. Currently, besides Night Sorrow, Ma Shizhuang's combat skills were the best in Taishan Peak. He hadn't lost yet, and everyone else had admitted defeat. Ma Shizhuang's opponent was Qian Yin. Qian Yin's strength was his speed. Ma Shizhuang, who was holding a saber, didn't give Qian Yin a chance to display his speed. The saber in his hand opened and closed. In the end, Qian Yin was forced off the stage and won. Tang Tian went up and defeated Tan Dong. Look! On the N edition, Chapter J next, Chu Ling Xiao called for Night Sorrow to go up. This time, he met Ning Qing, and Ning Qing also admitted defeat. The battle continued, and all 10 people had to fight. Night Sorrow's side defeated Tan Dong, Qin Hai, and Ning Qing. Next was Qian Yin, Chu Ning, Qing Jiang, and Ma Shizhuang. Finally, only Su Mu and Tang Tian were left. Once again, Night Sorrow drew Tang Tian. Ha, I originally thought that I would be able to bully 13th uncle after defeating that fellow. Looks like there's no hope. I forfeit. Tang Tian laughed slyly. This was also Tang Tian's last match. Out of the 10 of them, almost all of them had finished 9 matches. Currently, the ones with the best combat skills were Night Sorrow and Su Mu. Yuan Zhuang had lost twice, Chu Ning had lost thrice, and behind them were Qian Yin and Tang Tian. Chapter 129. Currently, the first and second placings had yet to be determined. The winner of the final battle between Night Sorrow and Su Mu would be ranked first, while the loser would be ranked second with 9 points. Aside from the two of them, Ma Shizhuang had the highest points. He had lost 2 matches and admitted defeat to Night Sorrow and Su Mu. Next was Chu Ning. She had lost 1 more match than Ma Shizhuang because of Ma Shizhuang. Then came Qian Yin, Tang Tian, Ning Qing, Qing Jiang and Tan Dong. Qin Hai had the worst results. How could he fight with a limp arm? He had to admit defeat no matter who he encountered. When Chu Lingxiao called out Night Sorrow and Su Mu's names, the two of them walked onto the arena. Everyone knew that this was the final battle of the Medicine Valley's newcomer competition. The two of them were strong enough to enter the Yuan role. This was something that had never happened in the past newcomer competitions. This was also the opinion of some people who did not know the inside story. Those who knew the inside story of the Medicine Valley knew that this was a competition between Taishan Peak and Naining Peak. It was also a competition between Yu Yangyu and Su Qinbai. It could even be said that this competition involved the direction of the next Valley Master. Can I request a death match? Su Mu asked Yan Beibei while gritting his teeth and shaking his neck. He had said what Night Sorrow wanted to say. Why? Yan Beibei frowned. He was disgusted by Su Mu. I'm afraid that I won't be able to hold back. Su Mu looked at Night Sorrow as if he was looking at prey. Peak Master Yen, I agree to a death match. Staining the arena with blood is the true nature of a martial artist. Night Sorrow took out the reincarnation spear from his back. Great Elder, what do you think? Yan Beibei looked at the Great Elder, who was dressed in linen clothes. You can fight as you wish. However, if one side admits defeat, you cannot continue fighting, the Great Elder said while tapping the ground with his walking stick. You heard what the Great Elder said. Once one side admits defeat, no more fighting is allowed, Yan Beiji said. Although he said that, he knew that the problem was a little serious. Su Mu was filled with a bestial nature, so it was impossible for him to admit defeat. As for Night Sorrow, he had noticed this during the disciple recruitment ceremony. He had an unyielding personality and would not admit defeat even if he died in battle. It was hard to say what the final outcome of this battle would be. Su Mu's cultivation was much higher than Yi Shang's, but Yan Beibei's eyes were sharp. He could tell that Yi Shang's body was extremely tough. Yan Beibei wasn't the only one who knew this. The other peak masters and elders could tell as well. Currently, it seemed like Su Mu was strong, but the outcome of the battle was still unknown. Su Mu took out his weapon. It was a long saber with a 4-foot-long hilt and a 2-foot-long blade. The back of the saber was covered in barbs that flickered with a dim light. The consequences of being struck by such a weapon would be dire. In the previous battle, Su Mu had only worn a metal claw glove on his right hand and had not used this savage weapon. Since we're all from the same sect, I hope you'll stop there. Let's begin. Yan Beiji said. Roar. With a low roar, Su Mu leaped forward and slashed at Night Sorrow with the saber in his hands. Night Sorrow took a step forward and swung his reincarnation spear at the black saber. Both horizontal and horizontal blocks were at a disadvantage. If the force exerted was different, the strength would not reach its peak. Therefore, Night Sorrow swung his reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow did not dodge. He wanted to see how strong Su Mu, who was known for his extraordinary talent and iron bones, was. Bang! With a loud explosion, Su Mu was forced to retreat 2 zhang. Night Sorrow also retreated 4 steps. Night Sorrow did not use any techniques because he wanted to feel out Su Mu's strength. When Su Mu retreated, both of his feet tapped on the ground, causing spider webs to appear on the bluestone floor. Footprints appeared in front of Night Sorrow, and cracks also appeared on the bluestone floor. After retreating 4 steps, Night Sorrow stomped on his hind legs and charged at Su Mu. His reincarnation spear smashed at Su Mu with 42 strands of vibration force. When he was at the peak of the 3rd level of element gathering tier, Night Sorrow could use 39 strands of vibration force. Now, he could use 42 strands. When Night Sorrow smashed his spear, Su Mu held his saber with both hands and swung it horizontally. Night Sorrow took his saber attack head-on. Now that Night Sorrow had launched his spear attack, he would be at a disadvantage if he did not take it head-on. Their weapons clashed, but the result was completely different from the last time. Wang! The instant their weapons clashed, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear released a powerful vibration, directly deflecting Su Mu's saber. The reincarnation spear continued to smash downwards, aiming for Su Mu's head. Su Mu's expression changed. He let go of his saber and threw a punch at the tip of Night Sorrow's spear. He borrowed the force to retreat quickly. After gaining the upper hand with his spear attack, Night Sorrow used Dragon Leap steps. After taking a few steps forward, his reincarnation spear pierced out once again. His target was Su Mu's throat. Night Sorrow gained the upper hand with just 2 moves. This was something no one had expected. Su Chenbai stood up with a frown on his face. Su Mu was his trump card for this sect-wide competition. If he lost, it would be a huge loss of face. In fact, Su Chenbai had taken in Su Mu as his last disciple and sent him to participate in the battle of the newcomers. This was already a bit embarrassing. If Su Mu lost as well, he would lose both face and face. After gaining the upper hand, Night Sorrow did not give Su Mu the chance to use his saber arts to attack. He realized that Su Mu's strength was almost on par with his own. He had cultivated the Myriad Tao treasured tome, so his arms had a strength of 13,000 to 14,000 Jin. Su Mu was born with this kind of strength, so he was indeed very powerful. Su Mu retreated step by step. Night Sorrow's spear art was fast and fierce, and it also carried the Valiant Vibration Sutra. Su Mu could not use his saber arts, so he could only block with his saber and punch with his right fist. However, Su Mu retreated in a semicircle. He was doing this to prevent Night Sorrow from forcing him to the edge of the stage. The sound of weapons clashing could be heard continuously. Night Sorrow became more and more courageous as the battle went on. Without using the energy in his body, his arms had a strength of 13,000 to 14,000 Jin. With the addition of the vibration force, he could already suppress Su Mu. Su Mu let out a bestial roar as he was suppressed by Night Sorrow. He could not use his saber, and he could not use his strength. The sullen feeling made him go berserk. His true chi was stronger than Night Sorrow's, but Night Sorrow's vibration force was very difficult to deal with. No matter how much strength he used, he would be shaken away. It was as if he was hitting cotton. Looking at the original chapter, is Chenbai done? The Great Elder tapped the ground with his walking stick and asked. Su Mu's cultivation is profound. He is only being suppressed temporarily. They will not stop until they admit defeat. We can continue. The muscles at the corner of Su Chenbai's eyes twitched as he said this. Hee hee. The Great Elder laughed helplessly. The second elder beside him also sighed. They knew that this was the best time for them to stop fighting. Su Chenbai would not lose too much face. Die! Su Mu let out a loud roar. He did not care about Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear attack and slashed his saber towards Night Sorrow's neck. He was fighting with the intention of perishing together with Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's arms shook, and the reincarnation spear fiercely pulled back with 42 vibration force. Night Sorrow would not do something like perishing together with his opponent. Chapter 130. Night Sorrow, stop! Su Chenbai shouted. He was a little anxious because Su Mu, who didn't have a weapon, wouldn't be a match for Night Sorrow. Su Chenbai was Su Chenbai's trump card to attack the Taishan Peak. He didn't want to give up on Su Mu in this sect competition. No matter what, Su Mu was a good seedling of the Ninein Peak. He had extraordinary talent and was the best candidate to inherit his legacy. When Su Chenbai shouted, Su Mu jumped and pounced on Night Sorrow. He punched at Night Sorrow with both his fists. Shut up! What are you trying to do? If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Yu Yangyu stood up and reprimanded him loudly. Su Chenbai had gone too far. He had shouted for Yishang, not for Su Mu to stop. Su Mu was still attacking. If Yishang had really stopped, then regardless of whether they were defeated or not, the one who would be injured would have been Yishang. Yangyu, don't be impatient. Chenbai, there must be a bottom line in everything. Medicine Valley can't lose face. The Great Elder's expression was somewhat cold and solemn. Su Chenbai's actions had already disturbed his calm heart. While Yu Yangyu and Su Chenbai were fighting below the stage, the situation on the stage changed. Knight Sorrow used the Dragon Leap steps and took a few steps forward to widen the distance between him and Su Mu. Then, he swept his reincarnation spear horizontally and stabbed forward, forcing Su Mu to retreat. Only by doing this did he gain the upper hand after knocking down Su Mu's weapon. After stabilizing his footing, Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear continued to attack Su Mu. Without the battle saber in his hand, Su Mu couldn't withstand Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear with only one claw. Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear hit him so hard that he covered his head and stomped his feet. However, he didn't admit defeat. "Aren't you very arrogant? Weren't you blocking our Taishan Peak's new disciples at Qingji Tower?" Yi Shang scolded Su Mu every time he drew his spear. Su Mu relied on his true energy to channel into his arms to block Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Not only did he consume a lot of his true energy, he also couldn't withstand the pain. His rage and pain caused his face to turn purple. Watch small story for free equals tell story, alright. Well said. Over at Taishan Peak, Chu Ning, Tang Tian, and the others clapped and cheered when they saw Su Mu being beaten up by Knight Sorrow. At this moment, everyone was waiting for void admiration to admit defeat. Without a weapon, he simply couldn't withstand Knight Sorrow's wind-chasing spear technique. What's there to be arrogant about fighting bare-handed people with weapons? Xing Jia, the third disciple of the Nine Peak, shouted at the Taishan Peak. Using a weapon to fight someone who is unarmed. Is there something wrong with your head? Su Mu didn't have a weapon when he went on stage. You don't even have a beggar's stick, yet you still have the face to blabber. Hearing Xing Jia's words, the second-generation disciples of Taishan Peak didn't say anything, but Chu Ning couldn't take it anymore. Xing Jia's words were very immoral, but they were also the truth. Impudent. Gong Xian turned around and glared at Chu Ning. However, he still felt very comfortable in his heart. The people of Nine Peak deserved a scolding. Chu Lingxiao's face turned to the side. The Chu clan was an aristocratic family with a heritage of many years. However, it had never produced a person like Chu Ning. His mouth was too vicious. Knight Sorrow whipped Su Mu again, causing him to jump around while holding his left arm with his right hand. He then turned to look at Xing Jia. You may be shameless, but I am. Our Taishan Peak is shameless. Are you saying that since I have a weapon now, it's unfair for me to win? I'll give your Nine Peak a chance. After speaking, Knight Sorrow raised his right arm and shot the reincarnation spear toward the edge of the stage. Boom! With a muffled sound, the reincarnation spear stabbed into a pillar at the edge of the stage. It was 3 feet deep. Powder appeared on the pillar near the body of the spear, and spiderweb-like cracks appeared all around it. The entire stage was filled with gasps. Just how much strength was used? That was a pillar made of 1,000-year-old ironwood. Knight Sorrow put down the spear and used Dragon Leap to charge at Su Mu. Energy whirlpools appeared on both his hands. One was light blue, the other light red. The difference in color was because Knight Sorrow's left hand was using the energy in his flesh and blood, while his right hand was using the true qi in his dantian. This was Knight Sorrow's first time using the Jin Yu hand with both hands. When he arrived in front of Su Mu, Knight Sorrow swatted out with his left hand to meet Su Mu's right fist. Bang! With a muffled sound, Su Mu was forced back. The sleeve of his right hand fluttered like a butterfly, completely shattered by the Jin Yu hand in Knight Sorrow's left hand. It was only because Su Mu's right hand was wearing a claw glove that he wasn't seriously injured. This wasn't the end. After Knight Sorrow swatted with his left hand, he took a step back and closed in on Su Mu. His right hand once again swatted at Su Mu. If you have the ability, don't admit defeat. When he saw Night Sorrow swatting at him again, fear appeared in Sumu's eyes. His right hand was protected by a claw glove, but it was still numb. Now that Night Sorrow was attacking again, he was somewhat afraid. It was too late for him to retreat. In order to avoid being hit in the chest, Sumu could only raise his left hand to block Night Sorrow's right palm. With another muffled sound, Sumu was sent flying by Night Sorrow's palm. His left hand was dripping with blood. This was because he was innately gifted. His muscles and bones were as tough as iron, so he didn't end up like Chin Hai. Come, get up and continue. Night Sorrow soared into the air and kicked Sumu, who was lying on the ground. Ignoring the pain from his bloody left arm, Sumu rolled to the side and dodged Night Sorrow's kick. Puff! Limestone chips flew everywhere. Night Sorrow's kick had the force of 10,000 jin, creating a ditch in the limestone floor. A humanoid weapon. If Sumu's initial performance was like a humanoid Yao, then the current Night Sorrow was a humanoid weapon. His punches and kicks were extremely powerful. After missing his kick, Night Sorrow leapt into the air and chased after Sumu once more. A faint red vortex of energy condensed in his left hand once more. Sumu crawled to his feet and let out a low roar. He charged at Night Sorrow once more. He had already lost all reason. The bestial instincts hidden within his body flared up. Night Sorrow's Shinyu hand once again swatted at Sumu's right hand. After the collision of energy, the metal claw glove on Sumu's right hand was sent flying in all directions. His right arm was also covered in blood. After receiving two of Night Sorrow's Shinyu hands, Sumu's claw glove couldn't take it any longer and shattered. Night Sorrow charged forward once more, closing in on Sumu. If it were anyone else, Night Sorrow wouldn't be so aggressive. This Sumu had provoked Taishan Peak many times. He had even prevented Chu Ning, Tang Tian, and the others from completing Tianji Tower's missions. This was a slap to Taishan Peak's face. Night Sorrow couldn't take it. Furthermore, Sumu wanted to fight to the death. His heart was filled with killing intent, so Night Sorrow wasn't going to be polite. Seeing Night Sorrow charge at him once more, Sumu, who had been beaten awake and scared, continuously retreated until he finally reached the bottom of the stage. Night Sorrow leapt up and pounced down from the stage. As long as Sumu didn't admit defeat, he would continue to fight. Enough! Su Chenbai's body flashed, blocking Night Sorrow's path. Chapter 131. Sumu retreated very quickly, but the piercing the heaven spear was even faster. It did not hit Sumu's abdomen, but hit Sumu's right thigh. Carrying Sumu, the spear flew 2 zhang away, and Sumu was nailed to the ground. How dare you! I told you to stop, and you still dare to continue. Sumu reprimanded, sending a palm strike towards Night Sorrow. I've tolerated you for too long. How dare you touch my disciple? At the critical moment, Yu Yangyu appeared. He grabbed Night Sorrow's shoulder with one hand and pulled Night Sorrow behind him, while his other hand slapped at Su Chenbai. Bang! With a loud explosion, Yu Yangyu took 2 steps back with Night Sorrow. Su Chenbai kicked. Thud! Thud! He took 6 or 7 steps back before he could regain his balance. At this time, the first elder in hemp clothes appeared and stood between Yu Yangyu and Su Chenbai. Master, help disciple block him. I want to beat him into submission today. Night Sorrow glanced at Su Chenbai and walked towards Sumu. I admit defeat. Don't come over. Sumu was truly afraid at this time. Whatever ferocious bestial nature he had was completely gone. #update You knew fastest all Night Sorrow walked in front of him. Ignoring Sumu's screams, he shook him twice and pulled out the sky-piercing grass. Remember, don't provoke me, a disciple of Taishan Peak. Otherwise, I'll beat you up every time I see you. After putting away the sky-piercing spear, Night Sorrow came to Yu Yangyu's side. Are you okay? Yu Yangyu turned to look at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and looked at Su Chenbai. 19th Peak Master, I'll remember this. Su Chenbai's expression was cold and he didn't say anything. He went to help the heavily injured Su Mu up. Su Chenbai, you have to give me an explanation. Yu Yangyu had no intention of letting it go. Third senior brother, let's let the great elder handle this matter. Yan Bei walked over and said. He was worried that Yu Yangyu's radical actions would hurt the great elder's face. The first elder tapped his walking stick and looked at the second elder who was walking over. Senior brother, it's my fault for not teaching my disciples well. Second elder Qian Wu slightly bowed to first elder. It's not your fault. Deal with it. First elder nodded at Qian Wu. Qian Wu looked at Su Chenbai and made his decision. Interfering with the rules of the arena without permission is a vile behavior. I'll punish you with 10 years of cultivation resources. In addition, you'll be stripped of your position as the sex protector. Go back and face the wall. Master. Su Chenbai was stunned when he heard the punishment. This punishment meant that he was no longer qualified to compete with Yu Yangyu. He was no longer the sex protector, so how could he compete for the position of Valley Master? In the Medicine Valley, the position of the 12 Peak Masters was lower than the Valley Master and the Elders. They were the sex protectors. Not only could they manage their own peak, but they could also restrain the disciples of the other peaks. Now, Qian Wu had stripped Su Chenbai of his position as protector. This punishment was quite severe. Senior brother, what do you think? Qian Wu ignored Su Chenbai and looked at the first elder. It's settled then. Bei, announce the results of tomorrow's Yuan list competition. The first elder left after he finished speaking. Qian Wu's punishment was very fair and even a little harsh. You've disappointed me. Qian Wu glanced at Su Chenbai before he sighed and left. Yan Bei immediately announced the rankings of this year's newcomer competition. Night Sorrow had a perfect record and was worthy of being called the newcomer king. Su Mu was ranked second, but he didn't have much face. Then, it was Ma Zhuang and the others' rankings. Night Sorrow, who had retrieved his reincarnation spear and followed Yu Yangyu back to the Taishan Peak seats, was grabbed by Shi Tianlin and thrown into the air. When he landed, he was thrown into the air by Mo Qin. Then, he was thrown into the air by his senior brothers and sisters before he was let off. While Night Sorrow and the others were celebrating, Tai Kun walked over and bowed to Yu Yangyu. Martial uncle, can you return my junior brother's weapon to him? No, why should I? Chu Ning, who had been carrying Su Mu's battle saber, shouted. Slap! Gong Xian waved his hand and slapped Chu Ning's head. The elders are talking. If you interrupt again, see how I'll deal with you. Senior brother Gong, this brat has been spoiled at home. He needs to be dealt with, Chu Lingxiao said as he walked over. Gong Xian nodded at Chu Lingxiao. This is his nature. It's fine if it's not outrageous. 13, what do you think? Yu Yangyu heard Tai Kun's words and looked at Night Sorrow. Normally, weapons had to be returned in this kind of competition. However, Su Chenbai didn't follow the rules and Yu Yangyu didn't want to follow the rules either. Therefore, he asked for Night Sorrow's opinion. Give it to him. It's nothing, Night Sorrow said. Okay, you guys go back early and cultivate. There's still a Yuan ranking competition tomorrow. Yu Yangyu left after instructing them. Chu Ning was very reluctant, but he still returned Su Mu's battle saber to Tai Kun. After nodding at Gong Xian, Tai Kun took the battle saber and left with the 9 Peak disciples. Su Chenbai had left long ago. He didn't have the face to stay. 13. You're too savage. It's a pity that the spear didn't kill him, Yang Lei said. Yes, that guy is very alert to danger. I'm still too weak. If the sky-piercing spear was just a bit faster, I would have been able to kill him. Night Sorrow hated Su Mu's snake-like gaze. 13. I think you really wanted to kill him. Why did you give up on the reincarnation spear? Aoi asked, puzzled. This was also what the others didn't understand. I had the reincarnation spear and he was wearing the golden iron claw gauntlets. If he defended with all his strength, I could only injure him. It was impossible to kill him. Even if he didn't admit defeat, he would have been stopped. I had to give up my weapon and fight him in close combat to have a chance to kill him, Night Sorrow said. Indeed, but it doesn't matter. This time, you've beaten him until he's afraid. 13. You said it well. Don't provoke the disciples of Taishan Peak. Otherwise, you'll beat them up every time you see them. Those words are so domineering, Yang Lei said as she hugged Night Sorrow's shoulder. Previously, he blocked Chu Ning, Tang Tian, and the others from doing their missions. I was angry, but I wasn't strong enough at the time, Night Sorrow said. Thank you, 13th Uncle, for helping us vent our anger. When I have time, I'll treat 13th Uncle to a drink, Tang Tian said. 13. Go back and recover today. Tomorrow is the Yuan ranking competition. You have to participate, Gong Xian said to Night Sorrow. Can I participate in the Yuan ranking competition? Night Sorrow asked in astonishment. Of course you can. However, the Yuan ranking competition isn't as complicated as today. It's a challenge mode. You see who you can defeat and challenge. If you win, his position will be yours, Gong Xian said. Then I'll participate. Night Sorrow made a decision. He wanted to drag Qin Zhan down. In the Medicine Valley, if the person Night Sorrow hated the most was Su Mu, then Qin Zhan would be number 2. If it wasn't for the Enlightenment, he would have been bullied at the Grass Valley Inn. Chapter 132. What's wrong? You look pretty excited. Hua Nan smiled at Night Sorrow. Yes, I want to fight it out with that Tianhua Peak's Qin Zhan. Night Sorrow nodded seriously. Yes, deal with that bastard. Just looking at him makes me angry. Tang Tian said loudly. What does it have to do with you? Why are you shouting? Gong Xian turned around and glanced at Tang Tian. It doesn't have much to do with me. It's just that he blocked 13th Uncle at the inn in Grass Valley Town and wanted to deal with 13th Uncle. If it wasn't for Senior Brother Enlightenment stopping him, who knows what would have happened. Tang Tian revealed Qin Zhan's evil deeds. Sigh, how did the world become like this? Aoi sighed. The human heart is not what it used to be. The human heart is the most difficult to understand. Since he's looking for trouble with you, you should get back at him. However, it'll be difficult. These veteran disciples of the Yuan ranking are still very strong. Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said. She had always supported Night Sorrow. Get back at him if you can. Suppressing him will only cause a knot in your heart, which is detrimental to the development of your mental state. Let's go back. Gong Xian said to Night Sorrow and then walked out of the plaza. Night Sorrow pondered as he walked. Was there a problem with his mental state? He didn't want to let go of someone he had a grudge with. 13th Uncle, what are you thinking about? Aoi asked when she saw Night Sorrow frowning as he walked. 6th Senior Sister, am I going too far? Today, I want to kill Su Mu, and tomorrow, I want to deal with Qin Zhan. I'm really not an evil person. Night Sorrow said with some hesitation. You should have a kind heart, but you don't have to be soft-hearted when dealing with petty people. There's nothing wrong with you. After this sect tournament, don't return to the bamboo forest peak. Senior sister will accompany you to drink tea at the Dragon Spring courtyard and resolve the problem of your mental state. Aoi thought for a moment and said. She understood that regardless of whether Knight Soro's mental state had a problem, he was still at a loss at the moment. After returning to Taishan Peak, Knight Soro went to Aoi's bamboo forest pavilion and entered his loft to meditate. After the final battle with Sumu, Knight Soro had consumed a lot of his stamina. Aoi once again explained Knight Soro's situation. It's not a mental state. You saw what happened today. Su Chenbai came forward to stop him, but he still wanted to kill Sumu. This shows that as long as he wants to do it, he must do it. There's nothing to say about his mental fortitude. At the moment, he's just a little confused. Aoi, if you have time, you can enlighten him. After this, his future will be much better. Yu Yongyu was not worried. Yu Yongyu was very satisfied with Knight Soro's performance today. Not only in terms of combat strength, but also in terms of Knight Soro's control of the situation and mentality. What he was most satisfied with was that after Su Chenbai came forward, Knight Soro still wanted to kill Sumu. This was something that ordinary disciples of the Medicine Valley could never do. After listening to Yu Yongyu's arrangement, Gong Xian and the others were relieved. They were really worried about this little junior brother. Knight Soro ate the spirit congealing pill and the leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill, and recovered to his peak state in 4 hours. When he recovered, the sky was full of stars. It was midnight. Knight Soro simply cultivated until dawn, took a bath, and walked out of the loft. After washing up, eat something. You seem to be in good shape, Aoi said. Sixth senior sister, do you know the rankings of the Yuan board? Knight Soro asked. I know a few people. After all, I don't really care about the Yuan board. The first place seems to be Danding Peak Shuyun Shao, the second place is Crepe Myrtle's Lan Yu, and the third place you know is Enlightenment, Aoi said. What are their cultivations? Knight Soro asked. Last year, Shuyun Shao was in the 8th level of Element Gathering Realm, and so was Enlightenment. Lan Yu is in the 9th level of Element Gathering Realm, but there are some differences in battle techniques and battle experience. Perhaps some of them have entered the core condensation realm. They can't possibly stay in the Element Gathering Realm for long, Aoi said. I know, they should have all advanced. Knight Soro sat at the table and said. Not necessarily. Not everyone is like you, cultivating so quickly. After entering the Element Gathering Realm, the energy needed to advance is huge. After the 8th and 9th levels, they need to stabilize their cultivation. Otherwise, they will be unlucky when they enter the core condensation realm. No one wants to enter the false core realm and stay in the false core realm, Aoi said. After that, Knight Soro found out that many people would stay in the peak of Element Gathering Realm. This was a watershed in cultivation. After successfully passing it, they would condense their core and become a true cultivator. Once they were stuck in the false core realm, it would be very troublesome. The false core realm was a gap between the Element Gathering Realm and the core condensation realm. Once they fell in, they would have to slowly climb back up. In other words, the false core realm is a stage that all cultivators must avoid, right? Knight Soro asked. Yes, the false core realm cultivators and demonic beasts are much stronger than the Element Gathering Realm cultivators and demonic beasts. However, no one wants to enter the false core realm. Who doesn't want to directly enter the core condensation realm? Aoi nodded. This also means that when I participate in the Yuan ranking contest, I will meet many people in the peak of Element Gathering Realm, Knight Soro deduced from Aoi's words. Yes, you now have the strength to fight against those in the peak of Element Gathering Realm. Also, they definitely won't have as many abnormal battle techniques as you. Use the shock force to block them. Once they get into close combat, they won't be your match, Aoi said with a smile. She had confidence in Night Sorrow. I'll work hard, Night Sorrow said with a smile. You've already won the title of Newcomer King. If you can also win a place in the top 10 of the Yuan ranking, then you'll be setting a precedent in the Medicine Valley. In our Medicine Valley, no newcomer has such a record. Aoi looked at Night Sorrow and said with excitement in her eyes. If Night Sorrow did it, then it would be a grand event at Taishan Peak. It would also be a milestone in the cultivation path of the Medicine Valley's disciples. Later, when they were eating, Aoi told Night Sorrow a piece of news. Shi Yunxiao's family had a middle-level talent, which was that they could use their arms to attack joints. Ordinary people's arms could only bend inward. However, in Shi Yunxiao's family, members who had inherited the bloodline could turn their arms inward and outward. Their attacks were very strange. After eating, Aoi brought Night Sorrow to the Tai Xian Hole. 13. As for the Yuan ranking contest, I won't be going. I'll just do my best. Yu Yangyu said to Night Sorrow. He had originally planned to go and watch, but changed his mind at the last minute. It was because Aoi and the others had said that Night Sorrow's mental state was a problem, which made him feel that he would give Night Sorrow pressure if he went. Chapter 133. I don't go into seclusion. Even if I do, it'll be for a short period of time. I'll remember these things. If you're not afraid of tiring yourself out, then our Taishan Peak will recruit more people. This time, I'll put aside my pride and bring all the newcomers back, Yu Yangyu said with a smile. I'm not afraid of tiring myself out. It's better for our Taishan Peak to be lively, Yang Lei said with a nod. Alright, then you guys go. Take care of 13's safety. I'll go talk to the Great Elder, Yu Yangyu said with a nod. This time, Gong Xian was the one leading the team. In fact, only Night Sorrow was participating in the Yuan ranking contest. Everyone was here to cheer for Night Sorrow. After Gong Xian and the others left, Yu Yangyu found Tai Tsung and asked him to secretly keep an eye on him. It didn't matter what Night Sorrow's results were, the most important thing was that he couldn't afford to have any accidents. After arriving at the square of the mountain gate, Night Sorrow realized how wrong he was. He originally thought that there would only be a few dozen people participating in the Yuan ranking contest, but in fact, there were many people from all the big peaks. There were at least a few hundred people participating in the Yuan ranking contest. This also let Night Sorrow know the background of the Medicine Valley. Those who weren't in the late stage of Element Gathering Realm wouldn't participate in the Yuan ranking contest. Now that there were a few hundred disciples in the late stage of Element Gathering Realm, how could Night Sorrow not be shocked? So many people. Chu Ning asked in surprise before Night Sorrow could speak. In the past few years, the Medicine Valley would accept more than 200 people in every disciple recruitment contest. There were also high-ranking members of the sect who went out for experience and brought back youths with cultivation aptitude. Every year, the sect would add 400 to 500 new disciples. Most of these people are in the late stage of Element Gathering Realm. For example, next year or the year after, you guys might be at this level. It's normal for 2 or 3 batches of disciples to be at this level, Huanan said. Everyone understood after hearing Huanan's words. The Medicine Valley was the largest sect within 100,000 li radius. It was normal for them to have so many disciples. The peak masters of the various peaks, as well as the second-generation disciples, had arrived. Yesterday's rookie competition did not affect them much, nor did it affect their personal interests. Today was different. If their disciples were to enter the rankings, it would be an honor. Yan Bei was still in charge with Chu Lingxiao as his assistant. The Great Elder was sitting there with his eyes closed as if he had fallen asleep. Qian Wu's complexion was not very good. After all, yesterday's matter was very embarrassing. That's strange. I heard that the first elder and second elder did not attend the sect competition and disciple recruitment ceremony in previous years. What's going on this year? Tao Yuan muttered in confusion. 13th retrieval of that ancient book is of great importance. It may be an opportunity for the rise of the Medicine Valley. The first elder may have some ideas, said Gong Xian. When Gong Xian spoke, the first elder opened his eyes and glanced at Gong Xian. He nodded slightly and closed his eyes again. At this moment, Yan Beiji said some encouraging words and then announced the rules. First of all, the disciples who did not have a ranking on the Yuan leaderboard would compete for the right to challenge. This selection was simple and violent. All the challengers would go up to the arena and only 30 people would be left. These 30 people would have the right to challenge. There were 100 people on the Yuan leaderboard. Those who had the right to challenge could only challenge the last 10 people. Each person only had one chance to challenge. Regardless of whether the challenger or the challenged person won, they would not be challenged for 3 rounds. Those who won 3 times would not have to accept challenges. This one chance to challenge meant that if they lost, they could not continue to challenge. If they won, they could challenge indefinitely. 13th uncle is at a bit of a disadvantage. Those people have brothers and sisters who can help them. Our Tai Xian Peak only has 13th uncle. If we are targeted, we can beat him up with a punch. Tang Tian said. Interpersonal relationships are also a kind of ability. If you can stand there and prevent others from attacking you, it's also a kind of ability, said Wu Qi. I'll go greet Martial Uncle Duan. Gong Xian was about to leave for Cloud Sea Peak. The peak master of Yunhai Peak, Duan Lei, and Yu Yang Yu were fellow disciples. Although they didn't interact much, they were always on each other's side during crucial moments. When Gong Xian asked Yunhai Peak to help look after Night Sorrow, Duan Lei wouldn't refuse. After all, Night Sorrow was also his own martial nephew. Eldest senior brother, there's no need for that. I don't like that. Surviving in a crisis is also a test. Night Sorrow shook his head. He didn't know about his relationship with Duan Lei, so he didn't want Gong Xian to beg for help. YD update %new most %fast DG on you, 13. Sometimes you have to be flexible, Gong Xian said as he looked at Night Sorrow. He understood Night Sorrow and knew that rigidity was Night Sorrow's weakness. I understand eldest senior brother's logic, but I still don't want you to lose face and beg for help. What I want is face. Your face is also my face. Eldest senior brother, please allow me to be willful this once. Night Sorrow said to Gong Xian. He knew that Gong Xian was doing this for his own good, so he didn't want Gong Xian to beg for help. The first elder opened his eyes and looked at Qian Wu. How is this kid? Very good. It's really rare. Qian Wu nodded. He knew what the first elder was asking. They might not be able to find out what happened in the outer area of the square, but everything in the inner area was under their investigation. This naturally included the conversation between Gong Xian and Night Sorrow. Gong Xian exhaled and nodded. He understood that the only thing he could do now was to support Night Sorrow. After Yan Beiji left the arena, Chu Lingxiao called the disciples who were participating in the Yuan ranking battle to prepare for battle. Night Sorrow nodded at his senior brother and senior sister. He carried the reincarnation spear and walked up the arena. He stood on the side of the arena closest to Taishan Peak. It was obvious that the people on the arena were in groups. The 12 peaks were divided into 12 groups. Only Night Sorrow stood alone on the side of Taishan Peak. Qing Shan, did you see that? This is imposing manner. Even if there are thousands of enemies in front of him, he will still face them calmly. This is the temperament of an expert. Your martial uncle has really picked up a treasure. Why didn't our Cloud Sea Peak host the disciple recruitment ceremony last time? Duanlei said to Bai Qingshan, who was beside him. Master, do you want me to greet the disciples? Bai Qingshan asked in a low voice. No need. The disciples know who to target and won't provoke him. Besides, it's not that easy to get him off the arena. It's hard to say if we can get him off the arena, but the price will definitely be heavy, Duanlei said with a smile. Soon, the battle began and the arena became chaotic. However, one could still see some subtle patterns. The disciples of Danding Peak, North Pole Peak, Cloud Sea Peak, and Crepe Myrtle did not attack each other. The disciples of the other peaks were also fighting in groups. Night Sorrow's side was very quiet. No one came to disturb him. No one took a single Night Sorrow, who was in the 4th level of Element Gathering tier, seriously. Chapter 134. The sound of blades slicing through the air, the sound of weapons clashing, and the angry roars of some people after they fell off the stage could be heard. Night Sorrow stood there motionlessly with his reincarnation spear pointed at the ground with his right hand. 13th Uncle is so cool. With a spear in hand, the world is his. No one dares to touch 13th Uncle. Chu Ning's big mouth was not idle. Just as Chu Ning was speaking, 2 disciples from Tianyue Peak who were pushed back by Danding Peak rushed towards Night Sorrow. They planned to take down Night Sorrow first. Don't jinx it. Aoi reached out and slapped Chu Ning on the back of his head. Night Sorrow twisted his right wrist and pulled out his reincarnation spear horizontally in front of him. When he pulled out his spear, there was a vibration force. His true chi was not as abundant as anyone on the stage. Therefore, he could only use battle techniques. Buzz! A strong vibration sound was heard. The guy on the right side of Night Sorrow saw Night Sorrow pull out his spear and blocked with his battle blade. However, he did not manage to hold onto his battle blade and it was sent flying. After his weapon was sent flying, he was hit by Night Sorrow's spear and was sent flying off the stage. At the same time, Night Sorrow used the Dragon Leap step and moved 2 steps, dodging the other person's attack. Then, he flicked his wrist and stabbed his spear towards that person's throat. The guy who did not want to retreat and wanted to beat Night Sorrow off the stage swung his long sword towards Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. When he swung his sword, he even slid it towards Night Sorrow. He planned to flick Night Sorrow's spear away and take advantage of the situation to attack. Ding! This guy's long sword was blocked by Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. The reincarnation spear was unmoved like a mountain and stopped at the guy's throat. While this guy was still in shock, Yi Chang's reincarnation spear smashed down on this unlucky guy's shoulder, causing him to tumble. Yi Chang then followed up with a kick to kick him down. Isn't that stupid? Seeing the weapon in front of you being knocked away, you still want to pick up 13th Uncle's spear. You don't even know how you died. Tang Tian shook his head and said. It's your 13th Uncle's cultivation level that's too deceptive. Why would he care about someone in the late stage of element gathering tier? Hua Nan said with a smile. When the 2 of them were knocked off the stage by Night Sorrow attracted a lot of attention. The disciples of Tianyue Peak who had been repelled in the group battle rushed towards Night Sorrow. Since there were people looking for trouble, Night Sorrow didn't hold back either. The reincarnation spear's barrel slashed and swept across, shaking away all the attackers. Some of the unlucky ones were directly knocked off the stage. Only one Y positive V version underscore NX other, all one is stolen. F version Night Sorrow didn't use the energy in his body. He only used the strength of his arms and the power of the vibration to fight. Even so, no one was able to get close to him. Using the reincarnation spear that weighed 1,000 Jin with a strength of 13,000 to 14,000 Jin and the reincarnation spear with the power of the vibration, those in the late stage of element gathering tier who didn't have a very strong body wouldn't be able to withstand it. Seeing Night Sorrow injuring the disciples of Tianhua Peak and knocking them off the stage, the disciples of Tianhua Peak gathered towards Night Sorrow. They wanted to deal with Night Sorrow first. Seeing the disciples of Tianhua Peak rushing towards him, Yishuan executed the dragon leap steps and waved the reincarnation spear with both arms, controlling the distance between them and not letting them get close to him. He didn't want to defeat or injure many people. His goal was to stall for time and hold on until the end. As long as he was among the last 30 people, it would be fine. Night Sorrow's body suddenly moved forward and backward. Holding the reincarnation spear with both hands, he attacked without restraint. No one was able to threaten his safety. Night Sorrow's safety wasn't a problem, but the people attacking him were. As long as they were touched by the reincarnation spear, their weapons would either be knocked away or their bones would be broken. There were many disciples of Tianhua Peak, but it was useless. There weren't many people who could get close to the inner circle to attack Night Sorrow. Interesting. Do you think group battles are useful? Back when we were exterminating the mountain bandits, 13's cultivation was much weaker than now. Didn't he still get exterminated? Mo Chen said with a smile. He knew Night Sorrow's group battle ability very well. Moreover, the current situation was different from back then. Yishuan didn't seek to kill. He only sought to protect himself and injure the enemy while protecting himself. Enlightenment, this little guy is very fierce. On the spectator's stand, a girl wearing a white battle robe with her hair tied up behind her head said to Enlightenment. Senior Sister Lan, that's not a little guy. That's our martial uncle. Enlightenment said with a smile. Martial uncle? What nonsense are you talking about? The girl in white stared at Enlightenment and said. She wasn't considered pretty, but she was very spirited. She was Crepe Myrtle's eldest disciple, Tang Qianqian's fifth disciple, Lan Yu. She was also the current second on the Yuan ranking. His name is Night Sorrow. He's the last disciple of Taishian Peak's Peak Lord. He joined the sect last year. I even brought him over from the Grass Valley. Enlightenment said. I'm going to faint. What is Martial Uncle Lu doing? He got this little guy to be our martial uncle. Lan Yu said with some dissatisfaction. There are still some things you don't know. He's a heaven-ranked disciple in the sect. Enlightenment said. Enlightenment was the law enforcement disciple of Danding Peak, so she knew more things. He has connections in the sect. But I don't think Martial Uncle Lu would accept a disciple just because of someone's face. Another disciple on the Yuan ranking said. You've misunderstood me. He first became Martial Uncle Lu's disciple, and then he received this treatment. This order was given by the Supreme Elder Council, and it was the order given by the Great Elder himself. However, as far as I know, he did not receive the token of a heaven-ranked disciple, Qiming explained. Don't talk first. This guy is really strong. We're destined to be his target this year. Another female disciple said. She was also one of Crepe Myrtle's disciples, Lan Yu's martial uncle's disciple. Qin Zhan, who was sitting at the back, snorted. What's there to snort about? Let's not talk about others. It's hard to keep your position. I don't understand. Why did your Qin family provoke him? Enlightenment looked at Qin Zhan and said. Don't think that just because he got the title of newcomer king, it will affect my strength. Qin Zhan's face was livid. Enlightenment didn't give him any face. Newcomer king. This guy got first place in the newcomer competition. Lan Yu asked with some surprise. Yes. Just yesterday, he got first place in the newcomer competition. The opponent he defeated was Beast Baby, who was in the 8th level of element gathering tier. Enlightenment said. He was at this scene yesterday, just like Qin Zhan. That beast baby is really strong, but he was too arrogant. It's good that he was defeated. This young martial uncle is really strong. Could it be that Taishan Peak specializes in fierce people? Lan Yu shook her head slightly and said. Chapter 135. What a pity. Lan Yu shook her head. She admired Night Sorrow a lot. He entered the sect this year. To be able to reach this level, he is indeed quite strong. A man behind her said. Speaking of which, I admire our martial uncle quite a bit. In this year's disciple recruitment ceremony, the sect's threshold is the 4th level of Qi refining. When he participated, he was at the 3rd level of Qi refining. He said that he wasn't any worse than the others. After the sect gave him the qualifications to participate, he stubbornly fought with the other 7th and 8th level Qi refining participants until the end, becoming one of the 26 people who entered the sect. You guys weren't there, so you should be able to imagine the difficulty he faced. Enlightenment lamented. I say, Qin Zhan, to be able to become enemies with him, are you really something? A short-haired youth looked at Qin Zhan. Qin Zhan glanced at the short-haired youth and didn't say anything. He didn't dare to offend him, as he was a ruthless person from Wuwei Peak. Wuwei Peak always emphasized on Wuwei Peak, but the short-haired youth in front of him was different. He was a genuine ruthless person. He was the disciple of Wuwei Peak's head disciple, Shuei. His name was Feng Yan. Enlightenment smiled and didn't say anything. He looked down on Qin Zhan, as the two didn't have any interactions. How strong is he? He broke his opponent's weapon with one spear. Lan Yu's junior sister, Huang Qian, looked at the stage and said. On the stage, Night Sorrow broke the Tianyue Peak disciple's saber with one spear. Then, he followed up with a kick and kicked him off the stage. When Night Sorrow kicked, his opponent came up from behind and stabbed his long sword towards Night Sorrow's back. Unable to dodge in time, Night Sorrow took out the sky-piercing spear with his left hand and blocked it. Then, he used the wind-chasing spear technique with the sky-piercing spear to force his opponent back. Then, he used the reincarnation spear in his right hand to smash his opponent. Long spear and short spear using the same spear technique. He is truly a monster. Lan Yu said with some shock. While the disciples on the Yuan roll were watching, Night Sorrow had defeated most of the Tianyue Peak disciples. There wasn't anyone left in front of him, so the remaining Tianyue Peak disciples didn't approach Night Sorrow. How is senior brother? Tai Tsang, who was standing behind Duan Lei, asked. What else can it be? Senior brother has picked up a treasure. Taishan Peak has earned a lot. Don't show off. Duan Lei glanced at Tai Tsang and said. Tai Tsang chuckled and nodded. Senior brother, you don't know. My big brother acted too quickly. Otherwise, I would have taken it. Even if you want it, you'll still be misleading others. Duan Lei gave Tai Tsang a look of disdain. Hearing Duan Lei's words, Tai Tsang nodded helplessly. He was indeed not good at teaching disciples. Most of his disciples were taught by other elders of Taishan Peak. When Night Sorrow saw that no one was attacking him, he took 2 steps back and returned to his original position. He sheathed the sky-piercing spear at his waist and pointed the reincarnation spear at an angle to the ground. Night Sorrow's attitude was very clear. He just wanted a spot. If he didn't provoke others, they'd better not provoke him either. Night Sorrow's side was quiet, but the other peaks were more intense. Hundreds of people were fighting for 30 spots. There were too many wolves and too little meat. In Medicine Valley, being a disciple on the leaderboard not only represented glory, but also cultivation resources. Only if you had strength and potential would you be worthy of the sect's attention. Outside of the sect's grand competition, one could also challenge the Yuan leaderboard and Elixir leaderboard at other times. However, one would need sect merit points. Sect merit points were hard to come by. Challenging the Yuan leaderboard and Elixir leaderboard wasn't very easy. Therefore, disciples who didn't have a lot of resources and merit points wouldn't challenge them. Knight Sorrow's side was very quiet. Only a few people who didn't notice his battle came to fight with him. However, they were defeated in a few moves. There were fewer and fewer people in the arena. Danding Peak, North Pole Peak, Cloud Sea Peak, Ninine Peak, Forgotten Cloud Peak, and Green Rock Peak's group battles had also come to an end. Ninine Peak, Forgotten Cloud Peak, and Green Rock Peak's disciples who weren't outstanding were all defeated. The remaining few who were strong no longer fought head-on. They moved quickly in the arena, planning to last until the last 30 people were selected. After a few rounds of encirclement, the remaining disciples of Ninine Peak, Forgotten Cloud Peak, and Green Rock Peak were not defeated. The disciples of Danding Peak, North Pole Peak, and Cloud Sea Peak shouted and began to fight with their own abilities. The elimination process was very fast. In a short while, there weren't many people left in the arena. With Chu Lingxiao's stop, the battle ended, leaving only 30 people. Next was the start of the challenge. Knight Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. He returned to his seat at Taishian Peak and sat down. With the qualification to challenge, he could challenge at any time. Gap. There was a huge gap between the disciples who weren't on the Yuan leaderboard and those who were on it. A few of them went up, but none of them succeeded. They were all defeated. This made the challengers feel conflicted. The challenge fell into an awkward silence. After pondering for a moment, Knight Sorrow stood up and came to the arena. I want a challenge. Okay, Taishian Peak disciple Knight Sorrow. Over there is the Yuan leaderboard. You can only challenge the last 10 people, Chu Lingxiao said. This was the rule. A newcomer was only qualified to challenge the 10 people who were ranked higher than them. If one wanted to challenge the one ranked lower than 100, they wouldn't be able to do so. They didn't have the qualifications. Then 91 it is. There was a stone tablet on one side of the arena. The names of the Yuan leaderboard were written on it, but Knight Sorrow didn't look at it. Wan Chun, 91 on the Yuan leaderboard, come out and accept the challenge. Chu Lingxiao shouted at the resting area of the Yuan leaderboard disciples. At this moment, a tall and thin man walked out and entered the arena. Knight Sorrow turned his wrist and pointed the reincarnation spear at the ground. He said to the tall and thin man, Wan Chun, please enlighten me. You're too polite. Make your move. Wan Chun nodded at Knight Sorrow and then took up a defensive stance. Knight Sorrow's feet shook as he charged forward. The reincarnation spear pierced towards Wan Chun's front. At the same time, the spear was filled with vibration energy. Wan Chun's body flashed and dodged Knight Sorrow's spear. He circled around Knight Sorrow and began to attack with his sword. He had already seen Knight Sorrow's battle and knew that Knight Sorrow's spear technique was outstanding. Furthermore, he was incomparably strong. Thus, he didn't plan to fight head-on and planned to win with his sword technique. Wan Chun's battle strategy was correct. Unfortunately, Knight Sorrow's spear technique had already been cultivated to the extent that he could wield it like an extension of his arm. As he brandished the reincarnation spear, not only did he block Wan Chun's attack path, he also forced Wan Chun to continuously retreat. This wasn't to say that Wan Chun's sword technique wasn't good. He didn't dare to clash with Knight Sorrow's weapon, causing the power of his sword technique to decrease by a few %. After being forced to the corner of the arena by Knight Sorrow, Wan Chun had no choice but to use his sword to block Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear. In the end, his long sword was shaken off by Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow controlled the reincarnation spear to stop 1 foot in front of Wan Chun and then retreated. I have lost. I accept my loss wholeheartedly. Wan Chun cupped his hands towards Night Sorrow. I'm sorry. Night Sorrow expressed his apology. Wan Chun smiled and left the arena. He wasn't as strong as Night Sorrow, so he could afford to lose. Will Night Sorrow continue? Chu Ling Xiao asked. Chapter 136. Scammer. Huang Qian looked gloomily at Qin Zhan, because in the following result, she might be out of luck. She was ranked 41st, and Night Sorrow kept challenging people who were 10 ranks higher than her. Then she would have to face Night Sorrow, because Qin Zhan was ranked ahead of her, at the tail end of the top 10. Qin Zhan clenched his fists, but did not speak. Huang Qian was nothing to him, but Huang Qian's senior sister, Lan Yu, was very powerful, having been stuck at the peak of element gathering tier for a year. The one ranked 81st was also in the 9th level of element gathering tier. He began to use the same tactics as Wan Chun, but the result was the same. Night Sorrow's body was very strong, and he displayed the chasing wind spear arts to its fullest potential. He could not withstand it, so he could only admit defeat when he was at a disadvantage. That way, he would not lose face. Next, the 71st ranked also admitted defeat. Night Sorrow did not intend to rest. This kind of battle did not consume much of his energy. Next, Chu Ling Xiao called the one ranked 61st. My name is Qin Yun, I admit defeat. The 61st ranked Qin Yun stepped onto the stage and smiled at Night Sorrow, then bowed slightly to Chu Ling Xiao. Bastard, shouldn't you at least fight a few rounds before admitting defeat? A middle-aged man not far behind Chu Ling Xiao scolded. He was Chu Ling Xiao's junior brother, and also Qin Yun's master. Master, I really can't beat him. If I continue to fight, wouldn't that be embarrassing? Why don't I preserve my strength and deal with others later? Qin Yun said to the middle-aged man. And, if you can't keep 61st, see how I'll deal with you. Qin Yun's master glanced at Qin Yun, then sat down. The one ranked 51st was a ruthless character. His surname was Shi Yunhai. After he stepped onto the stage, he quickly approached Night Sorrow, and engaged in close combat with Night Sorrow. After the close combat, Night Sorrow realized how difficult it was to deal with Shi Yunhai. With a short blade in one hand and a fist in the other, he attacked Night Sorrow's vitals. The most ruthless part was that his hands were often twisted, and he could attack in the opposite direction. It was extremely strange. Night Sorrow recalled Aoi's words. The number 1 on the Yuan leaderboard was called Shi Yunxiao. His family's innate ability was to counter joint attacks. This Shi Yunhai was naturally a member of the Shi family. Facing such a situation, Night Sorrow pulled out the sky-piercing spear from his waist and engaged in close combat with Shi Yunhai. He relied on the vibration force to restrain his opponent's short blade and then blocked his opponent's fist. However, this was not enough to force Shi Yunhai to retreat. Dong! Night Sorrow exerted force with his right hand and stabbed the reincarnation spear into the limestone floor. Once again, he took out the sky-piercing spear. With the sky-piercing spear in his 2 hands, he executed the wind-chasing spear art and began to randomly stab Shi Yunhai. Sometimes, he even ignored Shi Yunhai's left fist and directly attacked with the sky-piercing spear. It was a completely lose-lose battle. After a few rounds, Shi Yunhai was forced to retreat by Night Sorrow. I say, this method of yours is too shameless. Is there a need to use a mutually destructive method in a competition between fellow disciples? Shi Yunhai said in a somewhat depressed tone. It's not a mutually destructive method. Both of you hit each other at the same time. You'll be heavily injured, but he'll be fine. The Great Elder opened his eyes and said. Is what the Great Elder said true? Shi Yunhai did not doubt the Great Elder. He instinctively looked towards Night Sorrow to seek confirmation. I've been blocking your short blade and ignoring your fist. Your fist can't seriously injure me. At most, it will hurt for a while. I'm willing to accept your fist. If I'm fine, then you admit defeat. Night Sorrow said. He did not want to be entangled in this matter. He could see that Shi Yunhai's attacks were strange and varied, but his strength was insufficient. His speed of true qi was not as fast as Wan Chun's. That's fine. I'm not shameless. In a battle, my left fist can at most use 70% of its strength. Adding in your evasion, I can only use 60% of my strength. If I can't push you back by 3 steps, then I admit defeat. Marshal Uncle Chu, if I lose, please give him some time to rest. Shi Yunhai bowed towards Chu Lingxiao. And, although Night Sorrow is at a disadvantage, you're also straightforward. After all, in a battle, you can still throw out such a punch and hit your target. The advantage you have is that you can avoid one of Night Sorrow's attacks. In fact, Night Sorrow will pull back at the end and will not seriously injure you. Chu Lingxiao nodded. Night Sorrow put away his reincarnation spear and the energy of the myriad Tao Tome began to circulate. Come, don't hit my face. Puchi. Shi Yunhai, who was about to throw out a punch, let out a breath and could not help but laugh. Not only Shi Yunhai, but many people also laughed. Night Sorrow's words at such a crucial moment were unbearable and hurt them internally. Night Sorrow spoke very seriously. He was afraid that Shi Yunhai would act recklessly and hit his face. That would not be good. After taking a breath, Shi Yunhai took a step forward and punched Night Sorrow's left shoulder. He did not have any ill intentions and aimed for the chest, lower abdomen, and other vital areas. Bang! After hitting Night Sorrow, Shi Yunhai took 2 steps back. Night Sorrow's body swayed a little, but he stood still. Although it was a little painful, the energy of the myriad Tao Tome circulated 2 rounds and there was no problem. Fine, you're ruthless enough. Chapter 137. Next was the 21st place. He was Chang Yuan, a disciple of Green Rock Peak. Night Sorrow had seen this person when Gong Xian had found the entrance to the alternate dimension. After Chang Yuan got on the stage, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "One must know their limits. Biting off more than you can chew won't end well. Why are you talking so much nonsense? You are not qualified to teach me a lesson." After hearing Chang Yuan's words, Night Sorrow was very unhappy. It was mainly because Chang Yuan had used a lecturing tone. Then let me see how strong you are and how fierce your spear technique is. After Chang Yuan finished speaking, he smashed a copper rod in his hand towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow did not dodge and swung his reincarnation spear. Bang! With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow took a step back. Chang Yuan also took a few steps back. He was very strong, but with the power of his true qi, he was still inferior to Night Sorrow. After pushing Chang Yuan back, Night Sorrow's feet trembled. He rushed forward and swung his reincarnation spear again towards Chang Yuan's head. Chang Yuan was good at strength but not speed. He could not dodge Night Sorrow's spear at all. He could only hold the copper rod with both hands to block. He had blocked Night Sorrow's spear, but his trembling arms and unstoppable body showed that he was much weaker than Night Sorrow in a head-on collision. Again. Night Sorrow's body spun horizontally in the air. The reincarnation spear once again swung towards Chang Yuan's head. This time, he used the energy in his body. It could be considered Night Sorrow's full strength. Knight Sorrow was not afraid of anyone below the third rank, let alone Chang Yuan, who had never cultivated his body. Since Chang Yuan was good at strength, Knight Sorrow would defeat him in strength. Bang! Another muffled sound was heard. Chang Yuan's rod was sent flying by Knight Sorrow's spear. His hands were bleeding, and the web between his thumb and index finger was split open. His body fell to the ground, and blood slowly seeped out from under his knees. My master, senior brother, and sister can teach me a lesson, but you? Why? Yi Shang coldly glared at Chang Yuan. Knight Sorrow wins. Men, help Chang Yuan down, Chu Ling Xiao announced the result. Continue or rest. After arranging Chang Yuan's matters, Chu Ling Xiao looked at Knight Sorrow. Continue. Knight Sorrow nodded. A woman walked out from the Yuan ranking. Master, his talent is amazing. I'm not his match. I admit defeat. Yes, everyone's talent is different. A cultivator's achievement depends on one's talent and the other on their hard work. When you see other people's talent, think about their hard work. In the future, you will be able to do the same. Chu Ling Xiao said to his disciple. Thank you for your help. Knight Sorrow bowed to the woman. Knight Sorrow, there are still 10 people in front of you. Who will you choose? Chu Ling Xiao knew that the main event was about to begin. Qin Zhan, come out. Knight Sorrow finally had to face Qin Zhan. He pointed his reincarnation spear at the Yuan ranking disciple's seat and roared. Now, all the disciples of the Medicine Valley knew who Knight Sorrow's target was and who had provoked him. Qin Zhan's face was ashen as he walked out from the Yuan ranking disciple's seat. Let's fight on the arena. Knight Sorrow growled at Qin Zhan. You are really aggressive. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Let's see who's afraid of who. Qin Zhan walked onto the arena. I know you're not afraid of me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have blocked the entrance when I came to the Medicine Valley to participate in the disciple recruitment ceremony. However, I want to tell you that I wasn't afraid of you back then and I definitely won't be today, Knight Sorrow said as he brandished his reincarnation spear. Knight Sorrow's words caused a commotion. Tianyue Peak's Jin Kan and Luo Daoyuan's faces were unsightly because everyone knew what was going on. When Knight Sorrow came to participate in the disciple recruitment ceremony, Qin Zhan used his cultivation to bully him. How exciting! Qian Wu's face was ashen as he looked at Jin Kan recently. Su Chenbai had embarrassed him and now Jin Kan was involved in this matter. While they were talking, the two started fighting. At this moment, a very handsome man came to the Yuan ranking disciple's seat. With his arrival, the Yuan ranking disciples quieted down. This person was the first on the Yuan ranking, Shi Yunxiao. Cousin is here. I've lost, Shi Yunhai said to Shi Yunxiao. You're not convinced. Shi Yunxiao sat down and asked. No, I'm convinced, Shi Yunhai said. At the same time, he talked about Knight Sorrow's situation. He's very ferocious. He didn't rest and directly rushed to the end to fight Qin Zhan. His target is Qin Zhan, Feng Yan said. I heard their conversation just now. Qin Zhan is indeed a bit outrageous. However, this brat is also quite ferocious, Shi Yunxiao said as he looked at the two who were already fighting on the arena. It's not a brat. It's Martial Uncle, the last disciple of Martial Uncle Liu. Senior brother Shi, how long do you plan to occupy the Yuan ranking? Enlightenment said. A. Unspecified currency first, sent asterisk, I don't intend to continue occupying it. Today, I came out to get some fresh air. After that, I will return to my cultivation retreat. If you want to challenge me, you can just take it, Shi Yunxiao said with a chuckle. The battle on the arena became more intense. Qin Zhan was indeed very strong, or else he wouldn't have been able to occupy 9th place on the Origin Proclamation. He had been in the peak stage of element gathering tier for quite some time, and his cultivation had been stable for a long time. His battle experience was also very rich, and he could be considered to be at the peak of element gathering tier. However, in front of Night Sorrow, he didn't have the slightest bit of advantage. Night Sorrow executed the dragon leap steps to the limit and brandished his reincarnation spear. He flicked, stabbed, smashed, and swept. Spear after spear continuously attacked Qin-Jan. Qin-Jan relied on his movement technique to dodge. He didn't dare to receive Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear head-on. There were many examples of him clashing head-on with Night Sorrow, and none of them had a good ending. The reason he was able to persist was because Qin-Jan's movement technique was indeed very agile. He dodged all of Night Sorrow's attacks. This guy is really embarrassing. He should just run around on the arena. What kind of battle is this? Huang Qian was very dissatisfied with Qin-Jan. If it wasn't for Qin-Jan, she wouldn't have lost her 41st place. Although it's quite embarrassing, Qin-Jan's battle strategy is correct. After all, Night Sorrow's attacks are too fierce. Not only are his attacks fierce, they also have the power of vibration. As long as his weapon touches you, you will be bounced back and unable to continue the battle, Lan Yu said. Interesting. A 4th level element gathering tier martial artist has such battle prowess. Our Medicine Valley actually produced such a heaven-defying character. Shi Yunxiao clenched his hands together, and the joints of his hands made caw-caw sounds. This caused the people on the Origin Proclamation to be stunned. Those who were ranked at the top of the Origin Proclamation were almost all friends. Sometimes, they would even do sect missions together, so they were all familiar with each other. Shi Yunxiao's actions showed that he had the desire to battle. On the arena, Qin-Jan relied on his movement technique to dodge, but was still forced to a corner by Night Sorrow, who was wielding his reincarnation spear. Chapter 138. Looking at Night Sorrow's sweeping spear, Qin-Jan jumped up to dodge. He didn't dare to retreat because if he did, he would fall off the stage. Seeing Qin-Jan jump up, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear paused and stabbed it into the ground. He held the sky-piercing spear in both hands and rushed towards Qin-Jan. Aren't you fast? Then let's fight in close quarters and not give you the chance to display your speed. Seeing Night Sorrow take out the short spear, Shi Yunhai shivered. Playing like this again. This guy doesn't want to win. He just wants to ruthlessly mess with Qin-Jan. Lan Yu said. Yes, this guy has the intention to kill. I can see it from his eyes. Shi Yunxiao nodded and said. This guy really can't be provoked. Whoever provokes him will be unlucky. He really holds a grudge. Shi Yunhai said with a smile. It can't be said that he holds a grudge. It's just that Qin-Jan is too inhumane. I am the clearest about this matter. At that time, I was in charge of Caogu town's safety. Qin-Jan went to the inn and blocked someone's door. He even wanted to fight. If this happened to us, we wouldn't be able to get away with it. Enlightenment explained the situation that day in detail. You were in charge of Caogu town's safety. He was so arrogant, why didn't you teach him a lesson? Lan Yu looked at Enlightenment and said. At that time, safety was the priority. I couldn't act recklessly. You guys don't know. He even used Lin Tianjue to pressure me. Sigh, his character is really good. Enlightenment sighed and said. When Qin-Jan landed, Night Sorrow got close. The sky-piercing spear in his right hand stabbed towards Qin-Jan's neck and the sky-piercing spear in his left hand aimed at Qin-Jan's lower abdomen. Seeing Night Sorrow's double spear, Qin-Jan's expression changed. He saw the battle between Night Sorrow and Shi Yunhai. Shi Yunhai was so strong in close combat, but he still lost. His close combat ability was not as good as Shi Yunhai's. Shock was shock, fear was fear, but the battle still had to continue. Qin Zhan waved the long sword in his hand and blocked Knight Soro's short spear. Ding! Qin Zhan's long sword was shaken away. In his anxiety, Qin Zhan forgot that Knight Soro's weapon should not be touched. After shaking off Qin Zhan's sword, Yi Shang's two short spears landed on Qin Zhan's body. Although they were slightly off target, they still pierced Qin Zhan's body. The sky-piercing spear in Yi Shang's right hand pierced Qin Tian's shoulder while the sky-piercing spear in his left hand pierced Qin Zhan's waist. I admit defeat. When Knight Soro was about to continue stabbing, Qin Zhan quickly shouted these three words. Stop! Chu Lingxiao hurriedly stopped Knight Soro from continuing. Glancing at Qin Zhan, Knight Soro pulled out a pair of sky-piercing spears and retreated. You admit defeat quickly. If you have the ability, continue to threaten me in the future. Someone come, help Qin Zhan down. Chu Lingxiao shouted and ordered the disciples to bring Qin Zhan down. Translator, Tim Editor, Globe Glotter, you're now ranked 10th on the Yuan ranking. Do you still want to continue? Chu Lingxiao asked. Nope. Knight Soro shook his head. He didn't want to offend too many people. Today's matter was already very extreme. If he continued, he would become the public enemy of the Yuan ranking. Alright, you can go down. The Yuan ranking challenges still have to continue. Chu Lingxiao also let out a sigh of relief. Knight Soro's continuous challenges had made him nervous. Wait a moment. Shi Yunxiao walked out from the Yuan ranking seat. Knight Soro turned to look at Shi Yunxiao. When they're done, can we exchange pointers? Shi Yunxiao looked at Knight Soro and asked. Sure. Knight Soro nodded. I'm Shi Yunxiao. Shi Yunxiao announced his name. I'm Knight Soro. Are you here to vent for Shi Yunhai? Knight Soro frowned. No, Yunhai wants to treat you to a drink. If he doesn't mind, why should I? Not everyone in the Medicine Valley is narrow-minded. I just want to exchange pointers and then go into seclusion, Shi Yunxiao said with a smile. Alright, we'll do it later. Hearing that Shi Yunxiao wasn't looking for trouble, Knight Soro felt a little better. He liked Shi Yunhai's character and didn't want to see someone like Qin Zhan again. He was very satisfied with Shi Yunxiao's answer. When Knight Soro returned to his seat at Taishan Peak, he received enthusiastic cheers. Chu Ning and Tang Tian's voices were especially loud. Stop shouting. Let your 13th uncle rest for a while. Yang Lei glared at Chu Ning and the others before letting Knight Soro sit beside her. 13th uncle, the Shi family is straightforward. They really just want to exchange pointers with you. They don't have any ill intentions, Gong Xian said to Knight Soro. I know. Knight Soro nodded. He had a strong intuition for danger, malice, and kindness. Shi Yunxiao only had battle intent and no murderous aura. Yi Chang left the arena, and the battle on the arena became intense once again. The other members who were qualified to challenge each other began to challenge each other. They had all been motivated by Yi Chang's battles. Yi Chang had never been ranked, and he had fought his way into the top 10. Cousin, you really want to exchange pointers with Knight Soro? Shi Yunhai asked Shi Yunxiao from the Yuan leaderboard. Yes, he didn't use his full strength in the previous battle, so I want to fight him. Lan Yu, enlightenment, if I lose, then the first place on the Yuan leaderboard will have nothing to do with you, Shi Yunxiao said to Lan Yu, enlightenment, and the others. Senior Shi, if you don't go easy on him, I'll take the first place, Lan Yu said. Of course I'll take it, enlightenment nodded. They all recognized Shi Yunxiao's strength. He deserved to be first place on the Yuan leaderboard. The battle continued. Only 4 of the 30 people who were qualified to challenge succeeded and entered the top 10. However, they all failed if they continued to challenge. The strength of the veteran Yuan leaderboard members was not fake. After the 30 newcomers finished their challenges, it was time for the veteran Yuan leaderboard disciples to fight for the rankings. As long as they didn't challenge the top 10 in front of them, they could challenge. Night Sorrow closed his eyes to recover. Although these few battles didn't consume much of his energy, he had to maintain his peak state when facing the shockingly talented Shi Yunxiao. He didn't care about winning or losing, he just wanted to fight. After 4 hours, the Yuan leaderboard challenges ended. Those who wanted to challenge had all challenged. Other than the top 10, the positions behind had all changed. However, the changes weren't big. They were all disciples of the Yuan leaderboard and everyone knew it better. After the Yuan leaderboard challenges ended, Night Sorrow stood up and walked towards the stage. "Sorry, I just wanted to spar with you." Seeing Night Sorrow on the stage, Shi Yunxiao also walked up to the stage. "There's nothing to be sorry about. Fighting is the fastest way to improve one's strength. It's just for a fight, not for winning or losing," Night Sorrow said. "Well said, I like your temper. After the sect tournament, I'll go into seclusion. However, I'll remember to drink with you," Shi Yunxiao said with a smile. "Okay, no matter if it's a fight or a drink, I'll accompany you anytime," Night Sorrow said. Shi Yunxiao took 2 steps back and put on a boxing glove on his right hand. Chapter 139. After fighting with Shi Yunhai, Night Sorrow knew that the Shi family's close combat ability was strong and fast. The reincarnation spear was long, so if he couldn't stop the opponent from getting close, then he might as well give up. An inch longer was an inch stronger, but if the opponent got close, then it would be a burden. Look at 4 small TCs say HV Yong, long time free you 0 feet, good. Come. Shi Yunxiao nodded towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stomped his right foot and jumped into the air, thrusting the sky-piercing spear towards Shi Yunxiao's chest. Facing Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear, Shi Yunxiao didn't back off. Instead, he punched out with his right fist. Ding! The glove smashed onto the tip of the sky-piercing spear, producing a crisp sound. Then, Night Sorrow was forced back 3 steps. Night Sorrow thought that Shi Yunxiao wouldn't take this attack head-on, so he didn't use the oscillating force. After pushing Night Sorrow back with 1 punch, Shi Yunxiao took 2 steps forward and punched towards Night Sorrow with his left fist. Night Sorrow didn't back off. He raised his left hand and slapped towards Shi Yunxiao. When he raised his hand, a faint red energy halo appeared on his left hand. Bang! With a muffled sound, Shi Yunxiao was pushed back by Night Sorrow's palm. At the same time, his left arm was trembling. He had miscalculated. He thought that Night Sorrow would back off, but Night Sorrow counterattacked. This was because he had condensed true qi in his left hand and protected his left arm. Otherwise, he would have been heavily injured. After pushing Shi Yunxiao back with 1 palm, Night Sorrow took another step forward. The sky-piercing spear in his right hand pierced towards Shi Yunxiao's left chest. He raised his left hand and used the Xinyu hand to attack Shi Yunxiao again. Shi Yunxiao's body shook, but he didn't back off. Instead, he used both hands to attack Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear and his left hand Xinyu hand. Shi Yunxiao's strength was close combat. If he pulled away, then he wouldn't have any advantage. With another muffled sound, Shi Yunxiao was pushed back again. This shocked the members of the Yuan ranking and the other peak masters. Shi Yunxiao was an existence that no one could contend against on the origin roll. He had been in the top 10 of the origin roll ever since he was in the 6th level of element gathering tier, and had then become the first. This year was the 3rd year he had been on the origin roll, and it was the 3rd year he had been in the limelight. No one said that Shi Yunxiao's cultivation was slow, because Shi Yunxiao's Xinqi cultivation was incomparably solid. Whenever he could break through, he would suppress it, in order to accumulate enough energy to break through. But now, Night Sorrow had pushed him back, twice. After pushing Shi Yunxiao back, Night Sorrow's body quickly moved forward. The sky-piercing spear in his right hand continued to attack Shi Yunxiao's left chest, while the light red energy in his left hand continued to attack Shi Yunxiao. This time, Shi Yunxiao wasn't as calm as the previous 2 times. He was pushed back a few steps, and the robe on the left side of his chest was also cut open by Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear. This was because his right fist didn't manage to push the sky-piercing spear away. Following that, he flipped his body and used his second attack to push the sky-piercing spear away. After pushing Shi Yunxiao back, Night Sorrow retreated a few steps and pulled out the reincarnation spear that was stuck in the ground. The energy of the 10,000 Dao Tome in his body could still support one Jinyu hand, but it would affect the rest of the battle. In addition, 3 consecutive Jinyu hands had used up more than half of Shi Yunxiao's Xinqi. Night Sorrow had achieved his goal, and his Xinqi hadn't been used up much. Logically speaking, I should admit defeat, but I still want to fight. Shi Yunxiao's empty left hand took out a short blade. It doesn't matter if I win or lose, I only want to fight. Night Sorrow threw out the first sentence, and put away the sky-piercing spear. If he didn't use up Shi Yunxiao's Xinqi, Night Sorrow wouldn't be able to control Shi Yunxiao's close combat. Because Shi Yunxiao's Xinqi was abundant, he could rely on his Xinqi to neutralize the vibrating force, and thus close combat. Now, this threat didn't exist, and this was also the reason why Night Sorrow didn't use the reincarnation spear in the beginning, and picked it up again now. Shi Yunxiao's feet shook, and he charged towards Night Sorrow. At the same time, Night Sorrow also made his move. He used the dragon leaping steps, and the reincarnation spear in his hand was like a flood dragon. He flicked, stabbed, swept, and hacked, and he continuously pushed back Shi Yunxiao, who was about to engage in close combat. What's going on? Huang Qian was a little surprised. In the previous few clashes, Senior Martial Brother Shi had used up more than half of his Xinqi. That monster, Martial Uncle Knight, didn't use up much of his Xinqi, so Senior Martial Brother Shi couldn't resist the vibrating force of the spear. Lan Yu said. Martial Uncle Knight, not only is his battle prowess astonishing, his control of the battle is also extraordinary. If there are no accidents, Senior Martial Brother Shi will lose. Enlightenment also saw the situation clearly. Following the explosion of Night Sorrow's chasing wind spear arts and the vibrating force, Shi Yunxiao was constantly pushed back by Night Sorrow. Often, after blocking with his short blade, Shi Yunxiao had to use his right hand to attack in order to completely push aside the attacks of Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. After a few rounds, Shi Yunxiao was forced to a corner of the arena by Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow fiercely thrust out his spear, and this spear's vibrating force was added to the tip of the spear. He wanted to first knock away Shi Yunxiao's short blade, and then he would win. Facing Night Sorrow's fierce spear, Shi Yunxiao's expression changed. His body twisted irregularly, and his waist twisted, and his body stuck close to the ground as he dodged. Boom! Night Sorrow's spear exploded on a pillar at the edge of the arena, blasting a large hole in the pillar, and surrounding it were numerous cracks. Stop! Shi Yunxiao, who had flipped his body and stood up, shouted. His face was red, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His body couldn't stop trembling. Are you okay? Night Sorrow could see that something was wrong with Shi Yunxiao. I forcefully used a secret technique that I couldn't control. I can't continue fighting. Shi Yunxiao said with a bitter smile. I'm sorry. Night Sorrow said apologetically. He really didn't want to injure Shi Yunxiao. It's nothing. You think too much. I, Martial Uncle Chu, have lost. The first place on the Yuan ranking is his. Shi Yunxiao looked at Chu Lingxiao and said. This is a spirit concentration pill. Eat it first to stabilize your true qi in injuries. Chu Lingxiao went forward to support Shi Yunxiao. This was magnanimity. Although Shi Yunxiao wasn't Chu Lingxiao's disciple, he was an elite of the Medicine Valley, and also the future of the Medicine Valley. Therefore, Chu Lingxiao wasn't stingy with his pills. This was also the reason why the older generation of the Medicine Valley had a good impression of Chu Lingxiao. You've won. However, whether you can keep the first place on the Yuan ranking is your problem. Remember, there's still a drink. Shi Yunxiao left the arena after saying that. Junior brother Night Sorrow, go and rest for a while. Perhaps there will be others who will challenge you. The first place on the Yuan ranking isn't that easy to occupy. Chu Lingxiao said. I came up this time to exchange pointers, not to fight for a ranking. Whoever wants the first place on the Yuan ranking can have it. Night Sorrow felt a little guilty. His last spear had been too violent, causing Shi Yunxiao to be injured. This wasn't the result he wanted. Chapter 140. Great Elder. Night Sorrow bowed slightly. What's the Yuan board? It's the ranking of all the energy-gathering stage disciples in the Medicine Valley. If you don't care about this ranking, it's an insult to all the energy-gathering stage disciples and also a blasphemy to your own efforts. The Great Elder tapped the ground with his cane and looked at Night Sorrow with a serious expression. Disciple understands. I'm willing to accept another challenge. Night Sorrow bowed slightly to the Great Elder. It's good that you understand. Shi Yunxiao is on the verge of breaking through, so he can't stay at the top of the list. That's why he used a battle to decide who gets first place. He chose to spar with you, which means he recognizes you. The Great Elder glanced at Yishang, then sat down. Junior brother Knight, why do we work so hard to cultivate? It's to strengthen ourselves. It's for the glory of standing at the peak. This glory isn't just for you, it's also for your master, Taishan Peak and Medicine Valley. Young people don't need to hide their strength and bide their time. When it's time to fight, fight. Chu Lingxiao patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said. Night Sorrow returned to his seat at Taishan Peak and sat down. Everyone at Taishan Peak was quiet. They all knew that Night Sorrow was still young and hadn't experienced much. The battle with Shi Yunxiao was a battle. Night Sorrow felt guilty about Shi Yunxiao's injury and his emotions were unstable. Therefore, no one disturbed them. After calming down, Night Sorrow sat up straight. Have you thought it through? Yang Lei asked. Night Sorrow nodded and said. #original, first, then why don't you take the pill to recover? Aoi looked at Night Sorrow and said. If someone challenges me, the battle will start very quickly. There's no time. Night Sorrow shook his head and said. He didn't use much true qi, but he didn't have much energy left in his body. He couldn't recover in a short time. Idiot, eat a drop of medicinal cauldron spirit liquid. You can't lose first place on the Yuan leaderboard. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said. Okay. Night Sorrow had never used the medicinal cauldron spirit liquid before. Okay, in addition to assisting cultivation, the medicinal cauldron spirit liquid can also instantly restore cultivators below the core condensation stage to their best state. The auxiliary effect is always there is no waste. Gong Xian said. Upon hearing Gong Xian's words, Night Sorrow took out the jade bottle that contained the medicinal cauldron spirit liquid and took out a drop. After consuming it, he closed his eyes to feel it. The situation was different from what everyone had expected. No one in the top 10 on the Yuan ranking challenged Night Sorrow. Firstly, they felt that they were no match for Night Sorrow. Secondly, it would be an unfair victory. Anyone who could enter the top 10 on the Yuan ranking should be proud. Then, Yan Beibei stood up and announced the end of the Yuan ranking challenge. Some law enforcement disciples of the Medicine Valley carried the Yuan ranking tablet down. The tablet was to be sent back to the Yuan ranking Dao Seeking Cliff. The Yuan ranking tablet and the Elixir ranking tablet were both at the Dao Seeking Cliff. That was also the place where the disciples of the Medicine Valley challenged and learned from each other. The people of Taishan Peak did not move because Night Sorrow was in a meditative state. The Great Elder walked over. Gong Xian, Night Sorrow is a good person, but he is still a little immature mentally. You can't say that. He is indeed young. As the great senior brother, you should pay more attention to him. I understand. Gong Xian bowed and said. Not long after the Great Elder and the others left, Night Sorrow opened his eyes. Where is everyone? Looking up, Night Sorrow realized that the Great Elder and some of the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley had disappeared. Some of the disciples on the Yuan ranking were looking at the marks left behind by Night Sorrow's last shot. The Yuan ranking challenge is over. 13. You are the pride of Taishan Peak. There are precedents of newcomers entering the Yuan ranking directly, but they are also the tail of the Yuan ranking, not to mention entering the top 10. You took first place. This is the glory that everyone wants, Gong Xian said as he patted Night Sorrow on the shoulder. Great senior brother, I want to see Shi Yunxiao. Night Sorrow said after some thought. I'll go with you. Yang Lei said. Gong Xian nodded and left with his people. Yang Lei and Night Sorrow walked towards the back of Danding Peak. Shi Yunxiao was the disciple of Danding Peak's second-generation disciple, Shi Mu. He was also Shi Mu's nephew. Shi Mu was the second disciple of the Valley Master. He was very strong and was not inferior to Chu Lingxiao. However, he was not good at socializing, so he was not well known in the Medicine Valley. At the entrance of the valley where Shi Mu was, Night Sorrow met the servant disciple. Announced that Taishan Peak's Yang Lei, Night Sorrow is here to visit Shi Yunxiao. Yang Lei said to the servant disciple. Just as Yang Lei was speaking, a middle-aged man in a loose short robe appeared. Junior sister Yang is here. Just come in. What's the need to announce? Yang Lei greets senior brother Shi. It's like this. During the Yuan board battle today, my junior brother fought with Shi Yunxiao. Shi Yunxiao seemed to be injured, so I'm here to visit. Yang Lei explained the purpose of her visit. Yunxiao didn't look well when he came back, but his face was full of excitement. Then, he went into seclusion. He's fine. Junior brother. Junior sister Yang, which Uncle Master's disciple is this junior brother? The man in the loose short robe, Shi Mu, looked at Night Sorrow and asked. He's my master's last disciple, ranked 13th. He was accepted during the disciple recruitment ceremony this year. 13, come and greet senior brother Shi. Yang Lei introduced Shi Yunxiao to Shi Mu. Night Sorrow greets senior brother. Night Sorrow cupped his fists and bowed. Not bad. You're full of vigor and have a solid foundation. Yunxiao won't mind winning or losing. You're not injured at all. Come in and have some tea. Shi Mu brought Yang Lei and Night Sorrow into the loft in the valley. Many disciples of the Yuan board stood in front of the pillars beside the arena in the square. This is ironwood. 1,000-year-old ironwood was reduced to this state by a single spear strike. What would happen if this spear struck a person? A disciple of the Yuan board said with some emotion. Pang! Directly exploding. His bones and tendons are all shattered, and his flesh and blood splattered. Feng Yan made an exaggerated gesture. This guy is too abnormal. Who knows how long he'll occupy the Yuan board. He's only a 4th level element gathering tier now. Feng Yan shook his head. If he doesn't move his butt, no one can move him. This is without a doubt. Huang Qian reached out and touched the pillar. Wood powder fell down. This power is too shameless. Let's not talk about it anymore. I'm going back to cultivate. You guys be careful. If I can't take him down, I'll take you guys down. Shi Yunhai shouted at Enlightenment and the others and left. Seeing Shi Yunhai leave, the members of the Yuan board were at a loss. Those below Shi Yunhai were still fine. He couldn't possibly turn around and challenge them. However, those above him were vexed. The members of the Shi clan were all abnormal. Shi Yunxiao was like that, and so was Shi Yunhai. It was just that his cultivation was low. It's going to be a mess. Enlightenment said with a smile. Shi Yunhai's words were very arrogant, but no one was bothered by it. That was because the members of the Shi clan were straightforward and easy to get along with. They wouldn't bully others. The Shi clan was a large clan in the Medicine Valley. The elders above were all members of the Shi clan. However, the disciples of the Shi clan were usually like ordinary disciples. They didn't have any sense of superiority and relied on their own efforts. Chapter 141. Night Sorrow was speechless. This Shi Yunhai was too heartless. Impudent. Come and greet your 13th martial uncle. Shi Mu glared at Shi Yunhai. Shi Yunhai greets martial uncle. Shi Yunhai bowed to Night Sorrow. I'm here to see your brother. Yi Shang explained his purpose for coming. My cousin should be fine. It's just that his cultivation isn't high enough, so he forced himself to use the spirit snake movement. This means that my brother has no problem entering the core condensation stage. Shi Yunhai said. Then Shi Mu briefly explained the situation to Night Sorrow. The Shi family's innate bloodline allowed them to twist their joints. Before entering the core condensation stage, they could only twist their limbs. The spirit snake movement could only be used after entering the core condensation stage. It was the twisting of the waist bones. Shi Yunxiao forced himself to use it, so he was injured. But after using it, there was no big problem. Knowing that Shi Yunxiao was fine, Night Sorrow planned to leave. Hey, let's drink and do missions together when we have time. Shi Yunhai waved to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow smiled and left. The Shi family was very popular. It made sense. Ordinary people couldn't be as open-minded as them. Back at Taixian Peak, Night Sorrow saw Yu Yangyu in the Taixian Hole. Not bad. First place on the Yuan ranking. This way, you won't be criticized for having the heaven rank treatment. Work hard. Just now, the Great Elder came and hoped that you can participate in the Golden Flame sect's power struggle. But it's still a bit far. Yu Yangyu said. The Great Elder might not be satisfied with my performance today. Night Sorrow said. Then Yang Lei explained to Yu Yangyu that the Great Elder's attitude changed because Night Sorrow didn't compete. That's nothing. However, Great Elder is right. When it's time to fight, we have to fight. There's something that none of you know about. Today, Master will tell you about it. Yu Yangyu gestured for Yang Lei and Night Sorrow to sit down. Then, he explained some things that even Yang Lei didn't know. Providence. In the world of cultivation, there had always been a saying about luck. Those who had great luck would have a smoother cultivation process. In addition, they would also have more opportunities than ordinary people. Where did luck come from? When some people were born, they were blessed with good fortune. The other type of fortune was obtained through hard work and hard work. The way to compete was to attract attention and accumulate fame. The higher one's fame, the more luck one would have. For example, the Medicine Valley's Yuan leaderboard would attract people's attention and attention. This was a kind of fame. 13 has a chance to gain fame. What about me? Yang Lei was a little conflicted. She didn't know about this secret before. It's simple. Cultivate hard and then walk out of the Medicine Valley. Go out and fight, Yu Yangyu said. In addition, Yu Yangyu gave an example of why he was valued by the Medicine Valley's Grand Elder and had a chance to become the next Valley Master. It was because he had gained some fame in his early years outside and was valued. This was fame. With fame, things would go smoothly. This was the simplest manifestation of luck. On the second day, Knight Sorrow wanted to watch the alchemy leaderboard competition. However, Yu Yangyu brought him to do something else. It could be said that they were going to meet someone. Yu Yangyu brought Knight Sorrow to the back of Danding Peak's main hall. There was a 6-story, ancient-looking pavilion. The front and back of the pavilion were occupied by the Medicine Valley's elite disciples. After arriving at the library, Yu Yangyu said to Knight Sorrow, "I'm here to meet your Grandmaster today." "My Grandmaster is in the library?" Knight Sorrow asked in surprise. "Yes. Sometimes he is in the worship tower. Sometimes he is in the library. He is the guardian of the library." Yu Yangyu nodded. With the token in hand, Yu Yangyu went directly to the top floor of the library. He then knocked on the door of a room. "Come in." An old voice rang out. After opening the door, Knight Sorrow saw a white-haired but kind-looking old man. The old man was sitting cross-legged on a futon. 13. "Greetings to your Grandmaster," Yu Yangyu said to Knight Sorrow. Disciple Knight Sorrow greets Grandmaster. Knight Sorrow bowed to the old man. "Not bad. You are full of energy and vigor." The old man nodded to Knight Sorrow. "He took the title of Newcomer King and Yuan Leaderboard Champion yesterday. So I brought him here to meet Grandmaster." Yu Yangyu bowed. The old man stood up. His eyes glowed as he sized up Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow felt as if he had been seen through. There were no secrets left. "Not bad. Not bad at all. Yangyu, you have a good eye for disciples." The old man nodded in satisfaction. "He is hard-working. Very hard-working. Moreover, he has already mastered the Jinyu hand. He can use it a few times in a row." Yu Yangyu did not shy away from praising Knight Sorrow. "Master the Jinyu hand. Then I have a suitable weapon." The old man waved his hand and took out a claw glove. He handed it to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow took it and looked at it. He found that it was a soft, hollow claw glove. It was made of light blue metal thread. The back of the hand was not exposed. It could block the damage from sharp blades. The palm was mostly exposed. However, at the joints of the fingers and the palm, there was a thin rope made of metal thread. If the quality was high, it could block the damage from sharp weapons. The sky blue glove is made of sky blue silk. It can block the damage from sharp weapons. It does not block energy attacks. Similarly, it will not affect your heaven-covering hand. The old man said. "Thank you, Grandmaster." Knight Sorrow put on the glove and stretched his hand and fingers. He felt very relaxed. He was very satisfied. "All right. You can go back now. I will look for you later." Yu Yangyu still had things to say to the old man, so he let Knight Sorrow go first. Night Sorrow left the library. As he walked, he studied the sky blue glove. He knew what material it was made of. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio. The heaven green silk was the silk spat out by the heaven green silkworm. There were records regarding the heaven green silkworm in the Fey Encyclopedia. The heaven green silkworm survived by eating metallic green hillock sand. The heaven green silkworm wasn't afraid of sharp blades, but it was afraid of fire. Night Sorrow understood that the sky blue glove could accompany him until he reached Tier 4. Once he reached Tier 4, the glove would be useless. Tier 4 practitioners had alchemy fire. Normally, alchemy fire did not have much power, but it could destroy the sky blue glove. After studying the sky blue glove, Night Sorrow sat on Tianyu and returned to Taishan Peak. He then put on the sky blue glove and began practicing the Jinyu hand. Chapter 142. Just as Night Sorrow hurried out of the bamboo grove and was about to ride Tianyu to the square, Gong Xian and the others came back. 11th senior brother, I'm sorry. I just went out with Master. When I came back, I was so focused on cultivating that I forgot to cheer you on, Night Sorrow said apologetically. There's no need to cheer. Your 11th senior brother was just like you. He went from no ranking to eliminating Lin Tianjue in one go, Aoi said with a smile. Congratulations, 11th senior brother, Night Sorrow cupped his hands at Imo Chin. It's really nothing. Their combat experience is nothing to be proud of. Lin Tianjue. If he had the same cultivation as you would have killed him like cutting vegetables. I wonder who put them on such high pedestals, Imo Chin said with a smile. 13. Where did Master take you today? Did anything good happen? Aoi asked. Master took me to see Grandmaster. He gave me a glove. Night Sorrow took out the azure glove and handed it to Aoi. This glove is great. Grandmaster treats you well, Aoi said as she threw the glove to Night Sorrow. I'll go cheer for 6th senior sister tomorrow, Night Sorrow said. There's no need for that. You've been tired these 2 days. Take a rest, Aoi shook her head and said with a smile. It's okay. One day won't make a difference. Night Sorrow already felt guilty for not going to cheer for Imo Chin today. 13. The Heaven List ranking battle is a secret of the Medicine Valley. Disciples below the 4th rank are not allowed to participate, Gong Xian said. Eldest senior brother, 13 is a Heaven disciple. He should be able to watch the Heaven List ranking battle with the safety standards of a Heaven disciple, Yang Lei said after thinking for a while. 9th senior sister, I'm not going. I'm going to work hard on my cultivation. There's still a year before that alternate dimension opens. I still don't know how far I can go. Night Sorrow decided not to go. It wasn't that he didn't want to go, but he didn't want to make things difficult for everyone because of his own matters. Gong Xian nodded. Alright, then you can stay in your 6th senior sister's bamboo grove. Don't push yourself too hard. After returning to the bamboo grove hut, Night Sorrow started to practice his spear arts. He discovered that his speed was not fast enough. On this point, he knew that it was limited by his cultivation. Shi Yunhai and Shi Yunxiao were faster than him because their cultivation was much higher than his. After cultivating his spear art, Night Sorrow returned to the bamboo house to cultivate his true qi and the myriad Dao tome. After waking up the next day, Night Sorrow washed up and began practicing his spear arts. When Aoi went out, Night Sorrow also followed. Senior sister, I'll send you to the Supreme Mystery Hole. Okay, eat more when you're back. Don't work too hard. Aoi patted Night Sorrow's back. When Aoi and Night Sorrow arrived, Gong Xian and the others were already waiting at the Supreme Mystery Hole. However, they didn't see Yu Yangyu. Following Aoi's inquiry, Night Sorrow knew that Yu had already gone to the Dao-seeking cliff. I wish senior brother and senior sister good success. Yishan clasped his hands as he looked at the crowd. Gong Xian nodded and led Wuqi, Huanan and the others to the Dao-seeking cliff. Look at section MK on the H original version. B. 13th junior brother, let's go to the bamboo grove hut to drink. 6th senior sister isn't here. Let's see if you can get a servant girl to get us a jar of azure blood wine. Mo Chen said with a smile. Mo Chen didn't go to the Dao-seeking cliff. He hadn't reached rank 4 yet. Night Sorrow nodded and the two went to the bamboo grove hut. Hey, your master asked you to get us a jar of azure blood wine. We don't have anything to do. We want to drink today. When they arrived at Night Sorrow's hut, Mo Chen said to the servant girl. Chen yelled at the maidservant. Lord Mo, don't make it difficult for us. Miss said that when she's not here, no one can get the wine. Lord Mo isn't the first person to do this. Lord sure did it too. Aoi's servant girl looked at Mo Chen and said. I'm going to faint. 6th senior sister is so cruel. Mo Chen rubbed his nose and said. Ha! I have to be cruel. 8th senior brother and the others also did this. If 6th senior sister didn't hold back, the wine would have been gone. Night Sorrow said with a smile. At the same time, he took out a jar of azure blood wine. He had 2 jars of azure blood wine. The first time, Aoi gave him one, but he couldn't bear to drink it. 13th junior brother, you have some in stock. Mo Chen opened the jar and sniffed. He was a bit excited. 6th senior sister gave it to me before. I only kept some. Night Sorrow asked the servant girl to bring 2 wine bowls. If you don't give me the wine, then get me some side dishes. Mo Chen looked at the servant girl and was unhappy. He had just lost face and now she was sent away. Night Sorrow and Mo Chen casually drank wine and chatted. Mo Chen was flushed with success. The matter with Guan Yu was a knot in his heart, but it was solved a while ago. Then there was the matter of love, which was also solved with Night Sorrow's help. In addition, he took first place on the pill ranking yesterday. After drinking half a jug, Mo Chen looked for a place to sleep. Mo Chen had a bit too much, but Night Sorrow was drinking happily. After drinking 2 more bowls, he held the reincarnation spear and began to cultivate his spear arts. After using up his true qi, Night Sorrow went to meditate and cultivate. After recovering his true qi, he continued to cultivate. In the evening, Aoi came back. 6th senior sister, how was it? Night Sorrow held the spear and asked. Without eldest senior brother and 9th junior sister, Chu Ling Xiao took first place on the heavenly rankings. This bastard is very fierce. Back then, when we were on the pill ranking, we fought with him. Now that we are on the heavenly rankings, he is still in front. Your 3rd senior brother did well this time and took 3rd place. I, 6th senior sister, grabbed hold of a tail. In addition, your 2nd senior brother took 6th place. Aoi said. Not bad. Our Taishian Peak took 3 spots in the top 10. Not bad. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Green blood wine. Did you drink? Aoi approached Night Sorrow and sniffed. Young miss, Lord Mo came and said that you agreed to give them wine. I didn't give it to them. Lord Night gave them the wine himself. Aoi's maid came over and said. In the future, when they come, just give them the 100 herbs wine. Give them less green blood wine each time. Aoi told the maid. Thank you, 6th senior sister. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Didn't you kill the golden silk leopard last time? I used the leopard's bones to brew some wine. The effect should be good. Aoi said with a smile. Then Aoi and Night Sorrow went to see Mo-chin. Mo-chin was lying in the guest room and snoring. Aoi shook her head helplessly and covered Mo-chin with a blanket. He doesn't know how to take care of himself at all. I don't know how to survive all these years. After eating with Aoi, Night Sorrow casually took a walk in the bamboo forest. He wanted to calm down before cultivating. Chapter 143. Sighing helplessly, Night Sorrow returned to his loft to cultivate. He knew that if he wanted to see Sikong Chuyu again, he would have to increase his strength. He believed that Sikong Chuyu would not lie to him. Without reaching the 4th tier of cultivation, he would not be able to travel long distances. The following days were very peaceful. Night Sorrow cultivated in Aoi's bamboo grove. Yu Yangyu did not arrange a separate place for him to cultivate. On Taishan Peak, almost all the 2nd-generation disciples had their own territory. Yu Yangyu did not arrange a separate area for Night Sorrow because he was worried that Night Sorrow would not be able to take care of himself. Are originally %first. 60/2D During the sect tournament, Night Sorrow ate a drop of Cauldron Spirit liquid. The effect was very obvious. Night Sorrow's Shinchi did not directly increase, but his cultivation speed increased. His cultivation of the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome was also very fast. In half a month, Night Sorrow cultivated the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome to the peak of the 2nd tier of the muscle strengthening stage. His Shinchi also reached the middle stage of the 4th tier of the element gathering tier. Night Sorrow did not want to cultivate quietly. He planned to accept a mission from Tianji Tower. He planned to fight while cultivating his Shinchi and the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome. After hearing Night Sorrow's plan, Aoi was a bit conflicted. She knew that Night Sorrow's choice was right, but it was a bit dangerous. Guanyi had fallen on this path. Aoi looked for Yang Lei to discuss, and then asked Gong Xian. In the end, everyone decided to let Night Sorrow go. At the same time, Yang Lei and Aoi also decided to follow Night Sorrow to Longquan Courtyard. It would be more convenient this way. Night Sorrow did not reject Yang Lei and Aoi's good intentions. He agreed, and then went to bid farewell to Yu Yangyu. Yu Yangyu didn't object. He also supported Night Sorrow's decision. After all, he couldn't block a path just because of Guanye's accident. However, Yu Yangyu told the 3 of them to come back for the apprentice ceremony because there would be new members coming to Taishan Peak. Aoi and Yang Lei might be mentors. After bidding farewell to Yu Yangyu, the 3 of them left Taishan Peak on their flying beasts and headed straight for Danding City. Night Sorrow sat on Tianyu's back and began to meditate. Night Sorrow didn't want to waste half a day. After arriving at Longquan Courtyard, Hai Luo arranged for the servants to prepare food for everyone. Choshu then cleaned Aoi and Yang Lei's rooms again. Choshu was the servant that Aoi gave to Night Sorrow. Before Hai Luo and the others arrived, she had been serving Night Sorrow. Worried that the courtyard's expenses wouldn't be enough, Yang Lei took out some gold notes and gave them to Little Six while eating. The courtyard's expenses aren't small. Arrange it well. Master Yang, young master gave me a lot of gold notes. I can't use them all. Little Six took out a stack of gold notes and showed it to Yang Lei. People in the secular world usually called cultivators master. This was an honorific. In Longquan Courtyard, the servants and maids all called Aoi and Yang Lei this way. However, they called Night Sorrow, young master. 13. Where did you get so much money? Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow in astonishment. Cultivators didn't care about money, but they still needed it. Yang Lei was indeed shocked that Little Six had so many gold notes on him. It's like this. I went on a mission a while ago and got quite a lot from the bandit leader. I exchanged some gold and jewels for gold notes. 6th senior sister, 9th senior sister, take these and buy some clothes. Night Sorrow took out the gold notes from his storage ring and gave them to Aoi and Yonglei. 13 is indeed magnanimous. But what we have, you can keep it. You're raising a big family like this. Aoi pushed the gold notes back to Night Sorrow. Oh right, senior sister, there's one more thing. I got a treasure map to Lu Shan's cave. Let's go take a look when we have time. Night Sorrow thought about the treasure map last time. That's your opportunity. Even if you're senior sister and junior sister, you have to be clear about it, Yonglei said. But it's indeed dangerous for you to go. Let's take a break first. Yonglei added when she saw that Night Sorrow was in a dilemma. How about this? Whenever you want to go, we'll go with you, Aoi said. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went to cultivate. When he returned to the Longquan courtyard, Night Sorrow's mind felt very clear. He knew that this was the effect of the natural array. After cultivating for a night and eating, Night Sorrow rode his Tianyu to Tianji Tower early in the morning. It was the beginning of the month, so he came to see if there were any good missions. Coincidentally, when the attendant brought Night Sorrow into the private room to look at the missions, Enforcer Dong appeared. He sent the attendant to make tea and entered the room with Night Sorrow. Congratulations, newcomer king and the top of the Yuan leaderboard. Enforcer Dong cupped his fists at Night Sorrow. Don't be so courteous with me, Enforcer Dong. I'm here to accept a mission today. By the way, is there any news from Sikong? Night Sorrow asked with anticipation in his eyes. No, it's too far away. Even if there's a letter, it'll take some time. This is the bronze mission list. Enforcer Dong handed a yellow beast skin mission list to Night Sorrow. Looking at the mission list, Night Sorrow accepted 4 of them, all of which were Tier 3 and below. He could now face opponents at the peak of Tier 2, so Tier 3 wasn't something he could touch yet. He knew this very well. After recording the missions, Night Sorrow returned the mission list to Enforcer Dong. Then, Enforcer Dong, I'll go do my mission. Be careful. Safety comes first. Enforcer Dong reminded Night Sorrow. After nodding at Enforcer Dong, the two of them left the room. Enforcer Dong went to the bronze mission list and cancelled Night Sorrow's mission. Why did you cancel it? I accepted this mission. In the lobby, a young man looked at Enforcer Dong and said. The mission was cancelled when it was accepted. You accepted it too late, Enforcer Dong said. You accepted the mission. The young man looked at Night Sorrow. Yes, I accepted it. Night Sorrow nodded. Give up the mission and get lost. The young man shouted coldly. Where do you think this is? Enforcer Dong was a little angry. This young man was too arrogant. Isn't this the Golden Flame sex area? This is Tianji Tower, but I won't fight in the Tianji Tower. Your Tianji Tower shouldn't get involved in this. The young man looked at Enforcer Dong and said arrogantly. This is the Medicine Valley's area. At this time, another disciple of the Medicine Valley who was doing a mission spoke. He was a disciple on the Yuan list. Night Sorrow didn't know him, but he knew Night Sorrow. At this time, he stood out to help. The competition among the disciples of the Medicine Valley was fierce, but there were external enemies, so they were united. In other places, all the forces required the same thing. Competition was necessary, but unity was the foundation of a foothold. Chapter 144. I don't care which sect you are from. Don't mess with me. I took the mission, so it's mine. Night Sorrow looked at Jean Peng and said coldly. Are you courting death? After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Jean Peng was a little angry. Who do you think you are? I don't want to talk to you, but you still want to talk to me? Get lost. Jean Peng's arrogant words made Night Sorrow angry. Jean Peng's face turned green. He pointed at Night Sorrow and said, You? Good for you. You want to know my name? Then I'll tell you too. I'm Night Sorrow from Taixian Peak in Medicine Valley. Night Sorrow threw Jean Peng's words back to him. Enforcer Dong smiled at Night Sorrow. He liked Night Sorrow's character. When he didn't fight back, he was as calm as still water. When he fought back, he was as violent as fire. Be careful when doing missions outside. Don't get bitten by dogs. Night Sorrow nodded at the disciple on the Yuan ranking in Medicine Valley. Recently, Night Sorrow found that the disciples of Medicine Valley were only the black sheep of a certain peak. The rest of the disciples were easy to get along with and were very united. Qiming, Shi Yunxiao, and Shi Yunhai were all very easy to get along with. A few days ago, Lan Yu and Huang Qian from the Crepe Myrtle Peak had come to visit him. They had sparred, and after losing, they were all smiles. They even invited Yi Shang to the Crepe Myrtle Peak as a guest. Thank you for your reminder, Martial Uncle. I'm a disciple of Wuwei Peak. Martial Uncle, you should be careful. By the way, Senior Brother originally wanted to visit Martial Uncle, but he was caught by Senior Sister Lan Yu to do a mission, so he put it on hold. The disciple of Wuwei Peak said. Who is your senior brother? Night Sorrow didn't remember knowing the disciple of Wuwei Peak. My senior brother Feng Yan, 7th on the Yuan ranking. Speaking of this, the disciple of Wuwei Peak was very proud. Well, I won't be at Taixian Peak recently. I'll go back during the sex disciple recruitment ceremony. If I have time, I'll visit him. Night Sorrow nodded and said. You're done. Jean Peng looked at Night Sorrow with a gloomy face. Don't talk so much. I'll take whatever you want. If talking nonsense is useful, then you don't have to cultivate. Yi Shang repeated the words that Lu Yangyu had said to Jean Peng when he had fought against Su Qinbai in the sect competition. Look at the original chapter of Zhu, section V, I equals P, and. Seeing Yi Shang leave, Jean Peng followed. Enforcer Dong smiled as he looked at Jean Peng's back. He didn't say anything. He knew that if Jean Peng went to find trouble with Yi Shang by himself, he would be looking for trouble. Night Sorrow couldn't see Jean Peng's cultivation, but Enforcer Dong could. Jean Peng's cultivation level was in the 8th level of element gathering tier, and Yi Shang's newbie status aside, to be able to obtain first place on the origin roll, he must have defeated quite a few opponents in the peak stage of element gathering tier. Jean Peng was definitely no match for him. But Enforcer Dong also knew that Jean Peng, a disciple in the 8th level of element gathering tier, couldn't come to the Medicine Valley by himself. He must have been led by a senior member of Golden Flame's sect. In Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow's information had been sent to the higher-ups. The person who came to Tianjin Tower said that if the Golden Silk Leopard was killed by Night Sorrow would get the purple attention if he won the title of Newcomer King. Ordinary people might not know what this meant, but Enforcer Dong knew that Night Sorrow would probably be recruited by Tianjin Tower. Very few people would refuse Tianjin Tower's recruitment, because there was no point and no need to refuse. Tianjin Tower's development didn't conflict with other forces. No matter if it was a sect or a clan, there was no direct intersection of interests. The identity of a sect's disciple or a clan's member could coexist with Tianjin Tower's members. Being recruited and taking the initiative to join the Heaven's Terminus Tower's peripheral organization were two completely different concepts. If you voluntarily joined the outer organization of Tianjin Tower, you would get resources every month, but they would only be ordinary cultivation resources. However, if you were actively recruited by Tianjin Tower, you would get more resources than the disciples of other forces, and your starting point would be different. Enforcer Dong was the young master of the Sikong clan in the Qingtian region. It was very likely that Sikong Tianding, the future head of the clan, had used his connections to arrange a position in Tianjin Tower. However, he would only be a law enforcement officer in a small area. On the other hand, Sikong Chuyu had been actively recruited by Tianjin Tower, so her starting point was to patrol. Enforcer Dong felt a little regretful that the Sikong clan couldn't recruit Night Sorrow, mainly because the inspectors from Tianjin Tower had come too quickly. Normally, the inspectors would come to investigate once the branch of Tianjin Tower had reported a red notice. The direction of the investigation was to see if this person was qualified for the red notice. However, Yi Chang's performance this year was too outstanding. The person who came last time didn't consider whether Yi Chang was qualified for the red notice and directly confirmed whether he was qualified for the purple notice. While Enforcer Dong was worrying about personal gains and losses, Night Sorrow left Danding City in a beast carriage. Zhanping also sat in a beast carriage and followed Night Sorrow out of Danding City's city gate. After getting off the beast carriage, Night Sorrow turned around. You really came. Why not? No one can be arrogant in front of a disciple of the Golden Flame sect and come out unscathed. A golden saber appeared in Zhanping's hand. Make your move. Night Sorrow didn't want to waste time talking nonsense with Jin Zhan. Although he couldn't see Zhanping's cultivation level, Night Sorrow wasn't afraid. Zhanping's aura wasn't as strong as the top members of Medicine Valley's Yuan list. There were only two reasons why a cultivator's aura wasn't strong. One was that their cultivation level was extremely high and they had retracted their aura. The other was that their strength wasn't strong. Zhanping's aura wasn't strong, and he had accepted a bronze mission, which meant that Zhanping belonged to the latter. You're courting death. If I kill you, the Medicine Valley will have to bear with it. Zhanping waved his golden saber and rushed towards Night Sorrow. He didn't care about Night Sorrow, who was at the 4th level of the Gathering Element realm. He wasn't afraid of the consequences. His confidence came from the fact that the Golden Flame sect was powerful enough. The Golden Flame sect was one of the 7 superpowers in the Eastern Profound Domain. They weren't afraid of the other superpowers, let alone the Medicine Valley. Seeing Zhanping make his move, Night Sorrow waved his right hand and the reincarnation spear on his back appeared in his hand. Then his right arm shook and the spear stabbed towards Zhanping. Facing Night Sorrow's simple attack, Zhanping didn't dodge. Instead, he waved his saber to block the attack and continued to rush forward. Ding! The vibration force on Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear blocked Zhanping's saber. The spear didn't change and continued to stab forward. At this moment, Zhanping's expression changed. He hurriedly dodged. His dodging speed was relatively fast. Night Sorrow's spear didn't pierce his chest, but it cut through his left forearm, cutting off half of his forearm and left hand. Chapter 145. Zhanping covered his broken left arm with his right hand. His face was pale, and he looked at Night Sorrow and Tianyu with resentment in his eyes. Night Sorrow wanted to kill Zhanping directly. He didn't show any mercy with his spear, but he didn't continue after cutting off Zhanping's left arm. Zhanping without an arm was no different from killing him. If he really killed Zhanping, the Golden Flame sect might punish him. Night Sorrow didn't want to cause trouble for the Medicine Valley and Taishan Peak. After 4 days, Night Sorrow finished a time-limited task and returned to the Longquan courtyard. Boy, where did you go? We were worried sick about you, Aoi said worriedly when she saw Night Sorrow come back. I went to do a time-limited task. Little 6, feed Tianyu. There were still 2 days before the task, so Night Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. He let Tianyu rest and asked Little 6 to feed him. Do you know that the disciples of the Golden Flame sect are looking for you? Your ninth senior sister went back to find her master, Aoi said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment. Then he understood that the matter was serious. There was someone behind Zhanpeng. Now the disciples of the Medicine Valley are looking for you. They are worried that you will be found by the Golden Flame sect. The Golden Flame sect is also looking for you. Of course, they don't have good intentions. What's going on? Aoi asked Night Sorrow. Just when Night Sorrow was about to explain, Yu Yangyu appeared. Gong Xian and the others also came. Greetings, Master. Greetings, senior brothers and sisters. Night Sorrow bowed to Yu Yangyu. Yu Yangyu nodded. It's good that you are back. I will solve any problems. After speaking, Yu Yangyu entered the main building and sat down. Why 7% forever MK free? Read a novel, 6th senior sister, what's going on? The impatient Yang Lei asked Aoi. 13 just came back. I'm not sure. Aoi shook her head. Then, Night Sorrow explained what had happened. Master, this disciple has caused trouble for you. Night Sorrow said with some guilt. Do you regret it? Yu Yangyu didn't comment on the matter. Instead, he asked. Night Sorrow shook his head and said, I don't regret it. I won't cause any trouble for the sect. I'll leave later and go out to train. It's good that you don't regret it. Why did you leave? I can take responsibility for this matter. If something like this happens again, I will kill him directly. Yu Yangyu said coldly. Master, before I went back to see you, I walked around Danding City and found many disciples of the Golden Flame sect. Yang Lei said. Something has happened. The Golden Flame sect seems to have gotten the news that the Medicine Valley has found the Holy Cauldron Sutra. 13's matter was the first confrontation. Yu Yangyu said. How could the Golden Flame sect know about this? Gong Xian looked at Yu Yangyu in shock. If the Golden Flame sect knew about this matter, it would be a big problem. The news about the Holy Cauldron Sutra is only known to the people of Taishan Peak, a few Grand Elders, and some higher-ranking elders. If this matter is leaked, it means that the Golden Flame sect has already infiltrated the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley. Yu Yangyu said with a gloomy expression. If the Golden Flame sect is worried about the rise of the Medicine Valley, they may make a series of moves. They may even find an excuse to declare war. Gong Xian said. Yes, but the possibility is not high. To be honest, we also have people in the Golden Flame sect. Currently, the Golden Flame sect is not sure if the Medicine Valley has really found the Holy Cauldron Sutra. In addition, if the Golden Flame sect starts a war with the Medicine Valley will be defeated, but the Golden Flame sect will also suffer a great loss. Even then, the Golden Flame sect will not be able to resist the encroachment of the other 6 superpowers. Yu Yangyu analyzed. It seems that they came to the Medicine Valley in large numbers to cause trouble. Then let's fight. Let's see if they can afford it. They even chased us out of the city gate to cause trouble. We have given them face. Yang Lei's face was filled with murderous intent. Alright, Sher-san, follow me to the Golden Flame Pavilion in Danding City. Let's see what they want to do. Yu Yangyu stood up and said. Night Sorrow nodded. He originally planned to take the blame himself, but now it seemed that this was not only his problem, but also the Medicine Valley's problem. Because before this, some of the Medicine Valley's disciples had already been injured by the Golden Flame sect's disciples. The Golden Flame Pavilion was the Golden Flame sect's stronghold in Danding City. After arriving at the Golden Flame Pavilion, Yu Yangyu did not plan to let his disciples follow him. However, Gong Xian and Yang Lei still followed him. After entering the Golden Flame Pavilion's lobby, Yu Yongyu sat down and shouted to his followers, "Tell your people to come see me." "Who are you?" "This is the Golden Flame Pavilion." The Golden Flame sect's disciple took out his weapon and looked at Yu Yongyu. "Who are you? Didn't your Golden Flame sect say that you want to catch Night Sorrow?" "Night Sorrow is here," Yang Lei said. The followers in the lobby all held their weapons and were on alert. At the same time, one of them went to report. Before this lackey could leave the hall, a green-robed old man appeared. "Yu Yongyu, did you come to the wrong place to show off?" The old man entered the lobby and sat on the main seat. "Did I come to the wrong place to show off? Then did the Golden Flame sect's disciples come to the right place to show off in Danding City?" Yu Yongyu sneered. "Don't forget, the Medicine Valley is a subsidiary force of the Golden Flame sect. The entire northeastern region of the East Black Continent is under the influence of the Golden Flame sect," the old man said unhurriedly as he took a sip of the tea served by his lackeys. "It's true that the Medicine Valley is a subsidiary force of the Golden Flame sect. However, at the same time, the Medicine Valley is in charge of the Medicine Valley. This is a rule. Take back your claws. Don't try to show off in front of me. You, Zhanqinghe, are not good enough," Yu Yongyu said loudly. His words were not polite. "Yu Yongyu, what do you mean by this? Does the Medicine Valley want to become enemies with the Golden Flame sect?" Zhanqinghe stood up and pointed at Yu Yongyu. "So what if we become enemies? So what if we don't become enemies? The Medicine Valley doesn't need anyone to tell us what to do. We don't mind some small things, but it's not the right for you to take advantage of us. Catch Night Sorrow. He's right here. Who wants to catch him? Let's see if I can chop off his claws." Yu Yongyu stood up and pointed at Night Sorrow. His words were domineering. He didn't seem to be at a disadvantage just because the Medicine Valley was a subsidiary force of the Golden Flame sect. "You. The Golden Flame sect won't let this go." Zhanqinghe really wanted to kill Night Sorrow right now, but he didn't dare to. With his cultivation at the peak of the 4th stage, even Gong Xian and Yang Lei couldn't handle him. Chapter 146. "Master, what's the cultivation level of the person inside?" "I only felt an oppressive aura," Yang Lei asked. "Much higher than yours." This guy knew that he had to come out. Plus, Zhanqinghe couldn't gain the upper hand, so he didn't come out. This also means that the Golden Flame sect doesn't have the confidence to shed all pretense of cordiality. Yu Yongyu looked back at the Golden Flame Pavilion and said, "Master, what should we do next?" Yang Lei asked. The Golden Flame Pavilion's cultivation level is very high. The cultivation of the guy in the Golden Fire Pavilion is not simple. He should be an elder of the Golden Fire sect. Since he sent an elder here, it seems that the Golden Fire sect has set their eyes on this place. Then, we will fight back. Before I came here, I met the Great Elder and he gave me full authority to deal with this matter. The other peaks will cooperate fully. I plan to set up a few law enforcement teams and arrange a few strong captains. As long as there are people causing trouble in the Medicine Valley, they will be dealt with." After Yu Yongyu and the others left the Golden Flame Pavilion, an old man in a brocade robe came to the hall of the Golden Flame Pavilion. "Elder Qi, this Yu Yongyu is too arrogant," Zhanqinghe said. "He does have the right to be arrogant. I didn't expect his disciple to have reached the 5th rank." The old man in the brocade robe sighed as he looked at the street outside with his hands behind his back. "Elder Qi, what should we do now? What should we do to capture Night Sorrow's disciple outside?" Zhanqinghe's expression was not good because he was not even as good as Yu Yongyu's disciple. Yu Yongyu's behavior is unreasonable. Don't provoke them for the time being. Tell the disciples to be more restrained and communicate with the rogue cultivators in the Danding City area. The sect will also communicate with the forces in the Medicine Valley. The Medicine Valley must be attacked. The main thing is to see if the other information is true. The old man in the brocade robe made arrangements. Yu Yangyu could make decisions on behalf of the Medicine Valley, but the old man in the brocade robe couldn't. This was also related to the different directions of the sect's development. Medicine Valley did not seek hegemony, nor did they seek to expand their sphere of influence. However, in their own land, they would not give in to anyone who crossed the line. This was their tradition. No matter which peak master it was, he could make the decision. Even if blood flowed like rivers, the disciples of the Medicine Valley would fight to the end. However, the Golden Flame sect was different. The Golden Flame sect's development strategy was huge. They had to consider the threat of the other 6 superpowers and expand their influence. Therefore, they couldn't just attack anyone they wanted. The main reason was that the Medicine Valley was very strong. It was one of the strongest among the Golden Flame sect's subordinate forces. The Medicine Valley had been rooted in the Eastern Profound Domain for countless years and was deeply rooted in the Eastern Profound Domain. It wasn't easy to destroy it. After leaving the Golden Flame Pavilion, Yu Yangyu made arrangements. Yang Lei and Aoi stayed in the Dragon Spring Courtyard, while the others went back to the Medicine Valley to make arrangements for the law enforcement team. One day later, 3 law enforcement teams from the Medicine Valley were stationed in Danding City. One team was led by Gong Xian, while the other 2 were led by Chu Lingxiao and Yi Shuwei from the Wuwei Peak. This was the first action taken by the Medicine Valley. In addition, the elders of the sect led people to patrol the area under the influence of the Medicine Valley to warn the small forces that were ready to make trouble. V Forever 2 watch videos for free / talk 6. The person in charge of this operation was appointed by the first elder and the Valley Master. The person in charge was Yu Yangyu. The Medicine Valley attached great importance to this matter. The other peak masters also arrived in Danding City to deal with the upcoming situation. It had been a long time since the Medicine Valley made such a big move. The main reason was that too many disciples of the Golden Flame sect had come to Danding City. They could even form groups to capture Night Sorrow. How could the situation not be serious? It really corresponded to the saying, "The wind blows before the mountain storm." After returning to the Dragon Spring Courtyard to cultivate for a night, Night Sorrow went to the Tianji Tower to hand in his mission. There was a time limit for the mission he completed, so he had to hand it in as soon as possible. Seeing Night Sorrow, Law Enforcement Dong smiled. He knew the current situation in Danding City and the cause. However, he did not expect that Night Sorrow would cut off one of Zhangping's hands. He had sent a letter to the headquarters of the Tianji Tower in the Eastern Profound Domain. This was not because Night Sorrow had reached such a high level. The situation in the Medicine Valley was delicate, so the Tianji Tower had to know about it. They also reported Night Sorrow's matter. Purple attention was not a small matter, not to mention that Night Sorrow was the first on the Yuan ranking in the Medicine Valley. Law Enforcement Dong, I'm here to hand in my mission, Night Sorrow said. I'm relieved to see you. It's good that the Golden Flame sect did not catch you. However, your master is indeed domineering. Law Enforcement Dong said with a smile. He also knew that Yu Yangyu had gone to the Golden Flame sect. Now that the disciples of the Golden Flame sect did not come out, it meant that the Golden Flame sect did not have the confidence to deal with this matter. They went too far. That guy followed me out of the city and wanted to kill me. Then I had no reason to be polite, Night Sorrow said. True, but you have to be careful when you go out in the future. Don't get ambushed, Law Enforcement Dong reminded Night Sorrow after exchanging the mission reward. After leaving the Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow's body trembled. He took 2 steps back and looked around. Then, he found the source of the problem. It was the driver of a beast carriage. It was an old man. Although he was smiling, Night Sorrow felt a murderous aura and danger. This was his intuition. Night Sorrow got up and returned to the Tianji Tower. "Hey, why are you back?" Law Enforcement Dong asked in surprise. Law Enforcement Dong was right. "I'm being targeted. This person is really planning to ambush me. I can't fight against that person. If he attacks, I won't even have a chance to escape." Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. Danding City forbade violence. However, if the attacker was extremely powerful and left quickly after the attack, this rule would not be a deterrent. "What's his cultivation?" Law Enforcement Dong asked. "I don't know. I just instinctively feel that it's dangerous." Night Sorrow shook his head. Law Enforcement Dong brought Night Sorrow to a room on the 4th floor of the Tianji Tower. Law Enforcement Dong gently opened the window. "Is it the old man in green?" "Yes, that's him." "What's his cultivation?" Night Sorrow asked. "Rank 4, rank 3. If you don't look carefully, you won't be able to tell. His camouflage ability is very strong. A carriage driver with 3 levels of spirit severing. It seems like he's really targeting you. You can rest here and wait for him to leave. Or, you can ask the disciples of the Medicine Valley who are doing the mission to send someone to pick you up." Law Enforcement Dong closed the window and said to Night Sorrow. He was really impressed by Night Sorrow. He looked around and saw the old man. Night Sorrow realized that this was his instinct when he came out of the Tianji Tower. Night Sorrow's intuition for danger was too terrifying. Night Sorrow nodded. This was the only way. He didn't have any other choice. If a rank 4 cultivator attacked him, he would die. He wouldn't be able to resist at all. When they reached the hall on the 1st floor, Night Sorrow made tea. Law Enforcement Dong didn't accompany him. After all, it wasn't appropriate. The people outside the Tianji Tower could see Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow could also see outside. He was waiting for the disciples of the Medicine Valley. If there was a suitable one, he would spread the news. Chapter 147. Senior Brother Chu. Night Sorrow stood up and greeted Chu Lingxiao. Chu Lingxiao, who was passing by, stopped and walked over with his men. "Junior Brother Night, are you here for a mission? This is an emergency. Be careful. I'm not safe now. Hurry up and catch him." Night Sorrow pointed at the green-robed old man and shouted. Seeing Chu Lingxiao talking to Night Sorrow, the green-robed old man knew that he couldn't do anything and planned to leave. But Night Sorrow wouldn't let him go so easily. He shouted at Chu Lingxiao. Chu Lingxiao followed Night Sorrow's finger and saw the green-robed old man. His expression changed and he moved to stop the beast carriage. As soon as Chu Lingxiao moved, the people he led surrounded the carriage. "I didn't notice. You almost slipped away." A long sword appeared in Chu Lingxiao's hand. "What do you mean?" "I'm driving a beast carriage to earn some pocket money. Is that in anyone's way?" The old man said. 3rd grade divine clone. Driving a beast carriage to earn some pocket money? Who are you trying to fool? 3rd grade divine clone ambushing a 4th grade gathering element cultivator? You're shameless. I'm not going to waste my time with you. Chu Lingxiao attacked as soon as he finished speaking. After Chu Lingxiao attacked, the green-robed old man began to fight back. But the gap between them was too big. After a few rounds, the old man's ribs were pierced by Chu Lingxiao's sword qi and he lost his ability to fight. "I'm a disciple of the Golden Flame sect. You dare to attack me? The old man who lost his ability to fight finally revealed his identity. If it was something else, the Medicine Valley might tolerate it. Ambushing an elite disciple of the Medicine Valley. Then I'm sorry. Chu Lingxiao waved the long sword in his right hand and beheaded the green-robed old man. At this moment, Chu Lingxiao had nothing to do with being gentle and refined. He had a reason to kill the old man because the Golden Flame sect's disciples had appeared. The leader was Zhang Qinghe. If he didn't kill them, the situation would change. After killing the green-robed elder, Chu Lingxiao sheathed his sword and asked Zhang Qinghe, "Enforcer Zhang, this person attacked my Medicine Valley's elite disciple and even said that he was from your Golden Flame sect. Is he one of your people?" Zhang Qinghe was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He only asked after killing him. Wasn't this intentional? Originally, Zhang Qinghe had planned to use pressure and negotiation to exchange for the old man. He was one of the elite members who had followed Elder Qi here. What's wrong? Are they really from the Golden Flame sect? Then what do you mean? Are you going to attack the disciples of the Medicine Valley? Chu Lingxiao's expression changed as he sternly questioned. At the same time, the law enforcement team he led also drew their weapons and prepared to fight. I don't know either. I'll take the body back and ask if it's a member of the Golden Flame sect. At this time, Zhang Qinghe could not use force. If he used force, he would have to fight. The Medicine Valley was ready for a fight, but the Golden Flame sect had not given any further instructions. Okay, we want to know who this guy is. If you have any results, please let us know, Chu Lingxiao said as he put away his long sword. Zhang Qinghe snorted coldly and called for people to take the body of the old man in the green robe away. Everyone had a tacit understanding, but they didn't open their mouths. Once the topic was opened, it would be a real full-scale war. This battle ended once again with the Medicine Valley gaining the upper hand. The attitude of the Medicine Valley was clear. If you dare to cause trouble, I dare to kill you. Thank you, Senior Brother Chu. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get out of this door. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands to Chu Lingxiao. We're all brothers. You're welcome. You did well today. Don't be impulsive. They're all elites now. You really can't be reckless. Chu Lingxiao was a little scared. Knight Sorrow was smart. He didn't come out of the Tianji Tower and didn't give that guy a chance. Otherwise, Knight Sorrow would have died. Not to mention the Yuan Gathering Realm, even the Core Condensation Realm couldn't escape from a Spirit-Severing Realm cultivator. I understand. Knight Sorrow nodded. Where are you going? I'll ask someone to send you there. Chu Lingxiao looked at Knight Sorrow and said. ARP update asterisk, the soonest you update, thank you, Senior Brother Chu. I can go by myself. If there's danger, I'll avoid it, Knight Sorrow said. No, it's not your problem now. You fought with that arrogant disciple of the Golden Flame sect and cut off his hand. You're showing the prestige of the Medicine Valley. If something happens to you, the Medicine Valley will lose face, Chu Lingxiao refuted Knight Sorrow. He was mainly worried about Knight Sorrow's safety. I see. Then send me to the city gate. I'll go to the Dragon Spring Courtyard, Knight Sorrow said in a low voice. He couldn't let the Golden Flame sect find out. Fifth brother, seventh brother, you two send junior brother Knight Sorrow to the city gate. Be careful. If junior brother Knight Sorrow has something to do, go to the city lord's mansion. Marshal Uncle Lu and the other marshal uncles are all there, Chu Lingxiao said to the two members of the law enforcement team. At the same time, he also reminded Knight Sorrow to be careful. After exiting the city gate and bidding farewell to his escorts, Yi Shang sat on Tianyu and left Danding City. He hurried for a while and made a small circle. When he didn't find anyone following him, he returned to Longquan Courtyard. So late. You took so long to hand in the task. Seeing Night Sorrow coming back, Aoi complained. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that there was no need to hide it, so he told her what happened. How shameless. The Golden Flame sect is so aggressive. I'll go and kill their disciples now. Hearing that Night Sorrow was ambushed, Yang Lei was furious. Ninth sister, it's not appropriate. If you directly attack them, it will cause more conflict. If that happens, the Golden Flame sect will have to fight. It's completely unnecessary. That bastard Chu Ling Xiao did a good job today. Aoi stopped the furious Yang Lei. 13. I'll secretly follow you tomorrow and see who dares to attack you. Yang Lei thought for a while and didn't refute Aoi. It was indeed not a good time to attack. The Golden Flame sect's disciples could be killed, but if they took the initiative to attack, the conflict would intensify. The Medicine Valley wasn't afraid of war, but it was better to avoid it. After all, if they fought with the Golden Flame sect, it would be a fatal blow to the Medicine Valley. If the Golden Flame sect didn't let the Medicine Valley gain a foothold, then the Medicine Valley would definitely fight back. If the Golden Flame sect could restrain themselves, then the war wouldn't break out. The Medicine Valley needed time to find the sacred cauldron scripture. Okay, then you can follow me tomorrow. But I'm doing the task to train myself, so you don't have to do anything. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow and Yang Lei left the courtyard to do the task. The task was to kill 2 peak tier, 2 black-scaled beasts that were attacking the village. This task wasn't difficult for Night Sorrow. He had hunted black-scaled beasts before, but they were still underage. These 2 black-scaled beasts were much stronger than the one Night Sorrow had killed. However, Night Sorrow was no longer the same as before. He finished the battle in 15 minutes. Chapter 148. This letter was brought by someone from the Eastern Profound Region headquarters. Sikong Chuyu was the inspector of Tianji Tower. Passing a letter through Tianjin Tower was a very simple matter. After reading the letter, Night Sorrow felt a lot more at ease. Sikong Chuyu had already arrived at Yunwu Mountain, and the Sikong clan couldn't reach there yet. Although Yunwu Mountain wasn't as powerful as the Sikong clan, they still couldn't be easily provoked. Moreover, they were relatives. Sikong Tianding was happy to see such a scene. His daughter was safe and protected from the attack from the clan. This was a good thing for him. The letter was several pages long. Apart from introducing his situation, the rest was about Night Sorrow's advice and concern. Sikong Chuyu told him to work hard and cultivate. If he could get the attention of Tianjin Tower, it would be best if he could enter Tianjin Tower. This was an opportunity for Night Sorrow to get out of this area. If he could enter Tianjin Tower, it would be much easier for Night Sorrow to see her. After folding the letter, Night Sorrow put it away. At this moment, Night Sorrow was very excited. He had always been worried about Sikong Chuyu's situation. He was very worried that the Sikong clan would take him back. Although his father would take care of it, it was still a troublesome matter. Sikong Chuyu's safety was no longer a problem. Night Sorrow's concern turned into longing. The silhouette of Sikong Chuyu, wearing a long robe and covered with a light veil, appeared in his mind. Night Sorrow, what did Miss say to you? Enforcer Dong asked. In the public square of Tianjin Tower, Enforcer Dong called her Lord. In private, he called her Mississippi. She didn't say anything. She just said that she's very good, Night Sorrow said. Miss is very good to you. She still wrote to you from so far away. You can't let her down, Enforcer Dong said with a smile. I won't. I definitely won't. Night Sorrow nodded very seriously. Someone from above wants to see you. The letter was also brought by someone from above, Enforcer Dong said. You want to see me? Then, Enforcer Dong, take me there. Night Sorrow was shocked. I can see the top management of Tianji Tower now. This shouldn't be the case. Let's go. Enforcer Dong led Night Sorrow to the top floor of Tianji Tower. In the room on the top floor, Night Sorrow saw a man in a black robe. The black-robed man's back was facing Night Sorrow. His figure was tall and straight, and his black hair was tied to the top of his head. There was a thread at the back of his head that was connected to a mask. At this moment, the man turned around and sized up Night Sorrow. He was wearing a half mask, so the upper part of his nose was visible. Sit. The man sat down first. Night Sorrow nodded and found a place to sit down. He wasn't nervous. This person probably didn't have any ill intentions. I've read your information and learned about it personally. Very good. Enforcer Dong, tell him about our Tianji Tower's recruitment of talents, the man said to Enforcer Dong. Enforcer Dong repeated what he had told Night Sorrow before. Enforcer Dong, you can leave first. The black-robed man sent Enforcer Dong away. Obviously, he didn't want Enforcer Dong to know about the following conversation. Night Sorrow also understood this point. You know the situation. The probability of red talents being recruited is very low. Even if they are recruited, they will only go to the periphery. The probability of purple talents being recruited is very high. It can be said that they will basically be recruited. However, after being recruited, they will go to the periphery or the inner circle. It depends on their performance. At present, your cultivation path has just started. Tianji Tower will give you some resources for your cultivation, the black-robed man said to Night Sorrow. If they give me cultivation resources now, aren't they worried that I won't accept Tianji Tower's arrangement in the future? Or will I have to accept Tianji Tower's arrangement when the time comes? Night Sorrow asked the doubts in his heart. To be able to consider the future, your thoughts are very meticulous. You can rest assured on this point. To do a little bit of effort to nurture outstanding talents, the Extreme Heaven Tower has this kind of spirit. At the very least, the cultivators who have been supported by the Extreme Heaven Tower in the future will not turn against the Extreme Heaven Tower, don't you think so? If you think about the downside, this is a kind of investment. After all, those who can get purple talents will definitely have achievements as long as they don't have any problems, the black-robed man said after carefully sizing up Night Sorrow for a while. Then I accept. I don't know what the future will be like. At the very least, I won't bite the hand that feeds me. Night Sorrow nodded. Well said. There are currently 18 people who have purple talents in the headquarters of Eastern Xian region, and your answer is the only one. In fact, I don't like people who swear loyalty when they open their mouths and say they will die before they close their mouths. They are too hypocritical. Who doesn't think for themselves, the black-robed man said with a smile. A man without desires is strong. If I am restricted too much, I will think about this and that every day, and I will feel uneasy, Night Sorrow said. That's right. There are indeed no restrictions at the moment. Even if you decide to enter Tianji Tower, there will be few restrictions. This is my sincere words, the black-robed man said. I understand. From your words, I can feel Tianji Tower's style of doing things. Night Sorrow believed the black-robed man's words because he was sincere. These are the resources that belong to you. 3 bottles of top-grade energy-gathering pills and 1 energy-breaking pill. When you cultivate, try to increase your speed as much as possible under the condition that your foundation is stable, because this is related to the degree of your attention. The black-robed man took out 4 bottles of pills and pushed them in front of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow opened the bottle of energy-gathering pills and took a look at them. He took out the pills he refined and looked at the differences in the middle. After a while, he put them down. They are indeed better than the ones I refined. The color is bright and the efficacy is high. The main thing is that there are almost no impurities. You can refine pills. Let me see the best pills you refined. The black-robed man's voice was a little surprised. His eyes were fixed on Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and took out the bottle of leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill. He opened it and took out 1 pill and handed it to the black-robed man. Permanently exempt from plus. Cost, 3 look/small PR. Say the black-robed man took the leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill and looked at it. He rubbed his fingers and pinched a little bit of the pill. Then, he put it into his mouth from under the mask and closed his eyes to feel it for a while. A pill that strengthens the body and is also an auxiliary pill. This is very rare. I will keep this half of the pill and take it back to appraise its medicinal properties. Don't worry. Tianji Tower will not use this pill without a circulating pill formula. They will not refine this kind of pill. Even if they want to refine it, they will ask for your permission. The black-robed man put away the leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill. This is nothing. Night Sorrow nodded. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.